Audio.
It's so hard to survive. Maybe it's time, to rewind.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Survivor Rewind, a podcast where two enthusiastic, newish Survivor fans talk about the show 3 episodes at a time. I'm Caroline.
And I'm Kate.
And today we're talking about Season 10, Palau. We're talking episodes 13, 14, and 15. So we're wrapping up the end of this very emotional season. And today we have a very special guest with us. One of our good friends, someone we know via improv and is a Survivor fan as well, Cade Harstedt.
Hi.
Hi,
How are
Kate.
you? I'm
Hi,
good.
Kate.
I'm good.
Good.
I don't think anybody asked me how I was. I was answering my own question there. So.
We want to know.
You knew we wanted to know. We had a lot of quizzical look on our face. How is he? Kate is part of we've mentioned it before, our Wednesday night Survivor Zooms. And Kate, if you don't mind, could you let us know your history, your personal history? And I mean personal. No, just kidding.
Yeah.
Your personal history.
Just you. No.
Just you with Survivor.
Sure. So I started watching Survivor live with that first season, right? I watched with my family and I continued, I think, just through Australia. So what is that, the second season?
It is, yes.
Second season.
Yeah. I think I just continued through Australia truly live and sticking with it. And my parents continued watching. And overall, I think I kind of fell out of reality TV for about 16 more years or 15 more years, like really, really following reality TV. Then my now fiance and I were just sort of hanging out in our house one day, and we came across Big Brother, and it was just so crazy, just so much yelling from the announcer and the diary rooms, and it just seemed so wild. So we actually got into Big Brother, and when Big Brother stopped, we needed a fix, so we got into Survivor. And so I think that was about maybe 4 years ago. And since then, especially my fiance is just super into Rob Has a Podcast and just gorging on all that content. And so I, by extension, have gotten into that as well. And I really like it. I feel like reality TV for me is kind of a communal thing. I can't really watch it by myself.
Yeah. I think that is the thing with reality TV. It's harder. It's more enjoyable when you have people to talk about it with, I think.
Yeah, I would co-sign that because like I watched most of these seasons by myself the first time, and I've enjoyed them all, I think, much more rewatching with either in the context of this podcast or rewatching like as our Wednesday night group.
I mean, yeah. I guess, like, honestly, the reason we have this podcast is because we didn't feel like each other were enough.
We just weren't enough.
We weren't enough. So we wanted to, for people who are going back and rewatching, we wanted to give them a little bit of, like, that content in the same way they can get from modern seasons of reality TV.
That's wonderful. That's amazing.
Kate, thank you for saying that. Finally, a thank you.
Finally,
someone appreciates us.
I am just a huge fan of both of you personally, comedically, in every context, and so I'm just really glad to be here and that you invited me on. I just really appreciate it, and I mean, listening to this podcast is like just hanging out with you guys, and it's so much fun. So,
guys, we're like not even talking about Palau tonight. We just brought Kate on here to tell us nice things about ourselves.
Call me Stephanie because I think I'm a hero.
I'm not even really going to comment on the show. I'm just going to comment on Kate and Caroline commenting on the show.
Well, speaking of, I mean, Cade, what did you think of this season? Because you haven't seen it before, right?
Yeah, I have not seen it before, and I came in cold as well, so I didn't know the winner or anything like that. I didn't even know. Yeah.
You didn't know that about Oolong.
I didn't know about Oolong, but for some reason I just knew as it was happening. In a way, I got that sense that something that they would never win. I did not realize that it would go down to a single person.
Yeah.
And I think my feelings on the season are a little bit complicated. I was listening to some of your episodes about this season, right? And I feel like I might slightly differ on where I found my enjoyment. I actually really liked the dwindling Oolong and that all that. I think you might have mentioned that felt a little bit boring, and then the end is where it really picks up. But man, that end stressed me out a little bit. Just I think maybe because I could see myself as an Ian, and it just gave me flashes of like, oh no. But it felt like a bit of a bizarre season, kind of a curiosity, but still I definitely enjoyed it.
I do think that Oolong suffers on rewatch more than it does the first time, because I think that it was a lot more compelling the first time. Rewatching, you're like, you know it's gonna like, it's almost like the end becomes better. Like the end game, I enjoyed better on a rewatch because I know that Ian is okay.
Yeah.
So seriously.
Yeah. So then on a rewatch, you're just like fascinated by it. And then Oolong, the reverse happens. You know they're not going to be okay. So you're just like, ugh. It's a little bit, I don't think it doesn't hit the same dramatic notes as it does the first time, which is awesome.
Yeah.
It's just so drawn out, right? It's a long, and I would also say that this season felt really torturous in certain ways for the cast members.
Oh, like the challenges and conditions and stuff? Not
necessarily conditions and challenges, but a lot of the decisions that the people made on the producers made. So I do have a huge issue with them inviting two people on and then not letting them play the game, essentially. Caroline, you did mention how, they got to stay at a tropical area for like a couple months afterwards. So it's not that bad, but I don't like that. It seemed like they just were trying to punish Oolong after a certain point. And it is a little bit weird to force people to stay with that same exact group of people for 30 days. Mixing up the people kind of just gives the group a reprieve, I think. And I don't know, it seemed like they just amped everything up to make things really like a powder keg.
Yeah, so like instead of having like a tribe swap or something when Oolong was down quite a bit. Yeah, I mean, that totally would have been an interesting thing. I will say I'm kind of happy they did let Crevor just sit in their own juices for like 40 days straight, because that's why you get like one of the most emotionally broken finales. And of course I just eat that up because I'm like an emotional vampire who's like, are people's friendships causing rifts? Like I'm just like eating, like, what,
it's tasty. It's marinated.
But like you don't get that on a season where you have like trab swaps and stuff.
No, it's not.
And again, it's all fun because we know Ian's complete. Like we know Ian is fine, but.
Right. I do think it's a highly emotional season. So, Caro and I are going to eat that up with a spoon. But like the strategy for the most part, it like sucks. I mean, there's some good moves, there's some good moments, but for the most part, everybody's not doing what they're supposed to be doing. So it's a little bit, it's not as, it's definitely much more emotionally exciting than it is strategically exciting. And my cat just got up on my shoulder like a parrot.
They want to join.
They do. But I do feel that like that is what makes the end of this season so emotional, is because these people, you know, had a day one alliance, because these people have never left each other's side, because there was, not only did they not leave each other's side, because that can happen in other games, but they didn't leave each other's side, and for 20 days they didn't need to strategize. So then we're not talking about the game, we're talking about personal stuff. We're talking about, you know, real friendship moments, all that kind of stuff, because there's no game to talk about.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I think that is the glue a little bit to some
I didn't
of these.
think about it in that context.
But I do think, I mean, I also feel like the producers probably had a similar reaction to you in that they never, like, I don't think it's a surprise. They don't let a tribe go down to one again, you know? Like, that's not going to happen again. We got our experiment out of the way with Palau.
Yes.
We got to see Stephanie as the, like, sole survivor of Oolong. And, you know, we don't necessarily get quite that again, so.
It's interesting because, and this is a little bit, you know, talking a little bit moving forward to the next season. But after this season, we have the introduction of the immunity idol. And it's almost like the producers were like, this relationship stuff is too much. Like, it was just like, we can't just rely on social relationships. There has to be another element. Or we would love a way for Stephanie to stay in the game. If there was any way for us to keep Stephanie in the game, we would have. And now we're going to devise a way to keep, you know, to have that option.
Yeah. I think that's a really good point.
Yeah. Palau is the bridge to the teen experimental years. Because we're like, that was wild. What else can be wild?
I mean, just like the age of 10 is a bridge to our own teen years, you know?
Correct. To our own double dig.
To our own double digits.
Awesome. So should we get started?
Let's do it.
Because we got a lot to talk about. A lot for me to just talk about stuff I don't know enough about, but I'm gonna. Okay.
Sounds like every other episode of this podcast.
Sure does. Armchair.
Yeah.
Okay. So episode 13, it could all backfire. We get in the recap. It reminds us that Ian is promised Cade that he will take her on a reward. So I hope that doesn't come into play. And we also get Jen being so sad about Greg being voted off. She's really shocked, but she's handling it with a ton of grace. And she doesn't like, you know, she's like, I was shocked for 2 seconds, but then I was like, wow, okay, game on. And I feel like a lot in Survivor, you can tell when someone's faking it. And I feel like Jen is doing a good job.
Yeah, honestly, this is like, I guess, you know, 13 episodes into the season. I feel like this is the Jen I've been waiting for.
Oh my God, Jen!
This is the Jen I remember from the first time I watched the season, and I'm like, oh, there you are. Like, I love this Jen now that she has shown up. Maybe she has been there this entire time, and we just didn't get to see it, or it got umbrellaed into her like showmance with Greg or whatever. But I'm so happy we at least get these episodes with her.
Yes, and she shows up, and she's great. And also, legitimate chance to win, Jen.
Yeah.
Out of everyone besides Tom, maybe the most chance to win.
I think if she's at the end with anyone but Tom.
Correct.
Really? Even Ian?
Yes. After what
that.
happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
so. Because Jen did not piss anybody off.
No, and she would get Katie's vote for sure. And Katie's on the
Okay.
jury. Ian notices it too. He's like, oh, Jen's a smooth operator. And then he and Tom, he also says, as long as the women do not turn on me and Tom, we're money. We are money. And you're like,
much
oh,
money in there.
it was, yeah, money. It was like 2005, I guess. And then we get a great kind of 2 scenes kind of shot back to each other, where it's Karen and Tom talking about him trying to like he'll take care of her. He's like, be careful, don't get into an all-women's alliance. Cade will screw you over. It's not a good deal. And Jen, Ian, and Cade talk up at the shelter, and Jen and Cade are like, we need to get out Tom. And Ian's like, I don't know. And Jen's like, WTF.
Yeah.
This is just the beginning of Ian making terrible decisions.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really implodes. Like, he implodes his game, and it's mostly own goals from here on out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of feels like I would say Ian is someone who seems wiser than his years in so many different ways. I mean, I joke about him a lot, and I've said he's annoyed me in earlier episodes. But, like, I do think overall he's, like, an older soul.
Yes.
Because he's, 23? But this is where his, like, age is just catching up with him compared to everybody else. I think the next person age-wise is Cade at 29. And a 29-year-old woman is, like, might as well be 50 years old. So, like, I think his...
That's what everybody says.
I mean, I have that cross-stitched on pillow.
Yeah.
But I think his age, like, finally catches up with him, unfortunately. And it's like, yeah. Because it's like, yeah, of course they would need to go after Tom.
He's out-manipulated by both Tom and Cade. Two people who are skilled at manipulation for different reasons.
Yeah.
Or not even reasons. They just are. I don't think Tom needs to be a master manipulator to be a firefighter.
That's how you get the fires out.
Go in there, there's fire, you'll be a hero.
He's just convincing the other firefighters to go.
Yeah.
He's never been in a single fire.
He's just like,
convinces other people to go in.
Yeah. If you don't go in this fire, I'll tell everyone that you didn't go in the fire. Go.
I had enough honor to get you to go into the fire.
Exactly. Tom and Ian talk about the reward challenge, and Tom says specifically to not take each other on a reward. Mm-hmm. He's like, if I win, I take Karen. If you win, you take Cade.
Clear instructions.
This is like the moment where it starts for Tom, and Tom is almost the only one making, like, good strategic decisions.
Yeah.
For a little bit. I that's one thought that I had over the course of these episodes. It's like, how is Tom the smartest person in this episode? Yeah. I don't know. That's how I saw it.
Yeah, it is truly wild the way it turns out. And even this episode, I mean, people have seen it. We don't have to lie. Karen gets booted out. The swing vote gets booted out when there's like 2v2. What happens doesn't make any sense. And that's just the way at the end of a very hard game for people who really care about each other. And so they're making emotional decisions. And they're not making strategic ones. So the reward, they go to the reward challenge, and the reward is a Corvette, baby.
I mean, that I've heard of that car before. Must be nice. I don't know.
I mean, this has come a long way from Pontiac Aztec. That's the car I remember.
Colby and his mom can't sleep in the back of that.
Where's Gabe Donaldson gonna shower in that thing?
Yeah.
Basically, this is a challenge where you have to go on a raft and raft across a lagoon, and he says lagoon several times, to get different mile markers so that you can do basically a puzzle where you determine which city is the right number of miles away from Palau. And that comes down to, I don't know, it's probably going to become a huge shock, but Ian and Tom, maybe?
Weird.
Daddy and son. And this time, son best daddy. And because
Daddy tried to throw something across the water. Like, he tried to, like, cheat the system. Not cheat, but, like, he tried to not do the last step, basically.
Yeah.
And screwed himself over.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
That's daddy.
That's dad.
I mean, I say this all the time, but sometimes I just need to say it out loud. This challenge, like almost all the challenges, seemed very biased against women. Like, it's way harder for Karen to do that raft. Like, just simply doing it.
Yeah, wouldn't it be better if you had, like, a large wingspan?
Yes.
Like, it makes sense that the almost 7 foot tall guy does well.
I wonder how tall Ian really is, because in my head he is 7'1".
6'8".
Oh,
I think he's 6'8", so he's one of the tallest. He's like top 5. Like, I think Mitchell from Australia is the tallest because he's like 7 or 7'1".
Gotcha. Wow.
But Ian's like top 3 or 4.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, he is exceptionally tall.
Yeah.
So Ian wins a Corvette. he gets into the car and Jeff's like, you win the, they get to go up to this like beautiful mansion with a view and have dinner as well. Jeff is like, you win the opportunity to take, no, that's Tom's voice. Jeff is like, you win
Tom
the
is actually now
opportunity-
the host of the show.
Tom just took over. Tom pretty much did. So Jeff is like, Ian, you can take someone with you. And Ian says, I made a deal. If there was a car involved, I'd take Tom. He's like, I shook hands with him and I can't break that promise. And then Tom looks so confused. Tom is like, ugh. And Katie is pissed.
Cade, I have a question for you. What would you do? Say you're in Tom's position. Someone chooses you to go on a challenge and you're like, I don't think we've had it yet. I honestly don't know if this has happened before. Can you be like, hey, don't worry about me, dude. Like,
I would probably just go because I feel like it would show my strategy too much if I were to outright refuse. Or I think I would have to, in advance, think up a way to say it's like, oh, Katie, she deserves this more than anybody. She's the one who needs to go on this challenge. She deserves it.
She deserves it.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I probably wouldn't have like the thought of mind or cleverness in the moment to do anything. So I probably would just like shut up and get in the car. But
You don't even want to win this challenge. There's no good reason to win this.
Besides a Corvette.
How much is a Corvette? I was thinking of this too. Was it like $50,000?
I think it's actually closer to like 30.
It's nothing.
Yeah.
It's nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's nothing.
I mean, I don't disagree with you, but I also think it would have been really actually good for Ian's game if he just took Katie. Like that opportunity to solidify things with Katie would have been really good for him. I think Ian like got hypnotized by Tom. And he was just like, I have a choice to do something nice. It's got to be for Daddy. Like I really feel like he just like he had to.
It is bewildering because it seems like the only reason why he wouldn't take Katie is because Tom wouldn't like it. But Tom is telling him to take anybody else.
Right. Yeah. It's almost like we're missing a scene.
Yeah.
I would like to have seen like him promise that to Tom and understand his point of view because it just seems like a totally dumbass thing to do.
I thought maybe he made it up.
I did too.
I mean, maybe this had happened, but like I thought maybe he made it up because afterwards he just was like, well, I didn't want to take Katie because she like screwed me over in the
He's still smarting.
Not actual coconut chop challenge, but like the elimination challenge. She, was the one that was like, okay, well, you hate me, and then chopped him out. And he was like, really pissed off about that. And so I think he was still hurt from that. I think he made up the Tom thing. I mean, again, I have no idea. But like, I think that's just as viable as the fact that they actually had this conversation. I don't know why Tom would really give a shit about going on a car reward challenge. Like,
yeah, that doesn't seem like Tom's bad.
He doesn't seem like a car guy.
He was like, I heard him on an interview talking about like that challenge where they tempted them off the post with food, and he was like, why would you do that? Like, I don't think like I think he's above food, whatever that means.
I think you're 100% right, Caroline. It's now just like shifting into place for me. The dynamic between Katie and Ian is like high school crush, like weird high school. Are they friends or aren't they friends? Sort of on the line, and they're just sort of sniping at each other a little bit. I think that's totally it.
Yes, it is. We were talking about it. We were like, it's kind of like siblings and kind of like best friends and kind of like, it's just it's definitely intense.
Yeah, at one point he does say, it's like, this is like girls in high school.
Girl troubles back home.
Yeah, girls back home, yeah.
Yeah.
This is like girl troubles back home, which is like
all the girls that are trying to bribe me to get to the dolphins.
Oh my God, this is like girl troubles back home again.
Yeah.
Oh, cute little Ian. So we go back at camp, and Katie is pissed. And she's talking about how Ian betrayed her, and she rightfully realizes that if he picks Tom for this reward, he's gonna pick him for the final two. Like she realizes the same thing Ian realized an episode ago, which is if you're choosing Tom over me now, you're gonna choose Tom over me later.
So can I interject? And I thought that the one true path that Ian was talking about was with Cade. I thought I saw a diary or something like that where he's talking to the camera about Cade being the person that he wants in the final two.
He does.
Yeah.
But I do feel like I have never seen Ian actually even try to kick off Tom. So that's
true.
where I'm just like, I that move was so silly. And I feel like Cade, if he had solidified things with Cade, I don't think he made it clear to her that they were final two, because she wouldn't be so mad here. He would have said, I'm going to take Tom because I want to make him feel like we're together. He would have had that conversation. That's where I'm just like, I don't know.
Yeah, I think he wanted to keep both options for as long as possible, and he waited just way too long, and he couldn't contain it. It was outside of his control, and he was trying to have it both ways.
As someone who, goes through serious bouts of people pleasing, I just get it.
Oh, Ian is very relatable content.
Very relatable. Very relatable, for sure. So Cade spills all to Karen and Jen, and Karen tells them that she doesn't have a deal with Tom. And Katie's like, well, he has a deal with me. And Cade explains to them that when the person who has power loses power, we jump over.
Oh, can I just say,
yeah?
During this, when it's like Katie saying to Karen, like, okay, like, can you tell us about your deal with Tom? And then Karen's like, I don't have a deal with Tom. And Katie's like, yeah, we know you do. And she's like, no, we don't. And then Jen immediately is like, you're expendable.
Yeah.
Like, again, this is the Jen I've been waiting for. She's just like sitting there silently being like, oh, you're expendable. He's just keeping you around.
Yeah.
Like, assassinated.
Yeah. 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 She's good. Jen's good. And Katie's like, this is an immature move on Anne's part. Leave 3 women together when one of them is pissed at you. Dumb move. And yep. The men return, and Karen goes right to Anne and is like, who is the final 3? And it's just so funny to have a defense lawyer go after Ian. It's no match. It's no match. And he's like, you, me, and Tom. And she's like, why should I believe you'll take me and not Cade? And he's like, you shouldn't. I don't know what I'm going to do. And then Tom's like, Karen, what did the girls say? And Karen's like, I'm not telling you shit now. And then Tom is like, Ian really messed this up for me.
Yeah.
And then he goes to Ian, boy, you messed up right there, which I think is funny. And it's just, he lies so bad, and Tom is so disappointed, and Karen is great being herself.
Although Karen's like weighing out in her confessional, she's like, I just have to choose like what will be better for me, Tom and Ian or Cade and Jen. And not that either of them results in a Karen victory, but I would think going with the ladies is a better path.
Well, Caroline, she did.
Oh, she does. Yeah. Okay.
That's what she does. She does pick the better trend. Like Katie.
Oh, good. Yeah,
Katie
good.
screws her over.
I don't know why I'm like, I guess I forgot, but
Well, like, we'll talk about it, right? But I was a little bit confused over what was happening in that tribal. But we'll talk about it.
Yeah. Ian asks Katie to talk to him, and she goes, actually, that's the last thing I want to do. And then, which is amazing, and then Katie goes to the girls, and she's like, Ian said he wanted to talk to me, and I said, actually, that's the last thing I want to do. And we have Ian.
It's funny, but it's also like really emotional and hardcore. And it's not funny at all, but it's funny.
It's just so, this is the realest fight.
I mean, it's like girl stuff back home, you know?
Well, yeah, that's what he goes, it was a reward challenge. It was dinner. This is like girl troubles back home. And then Ian is like, can we talk on the beach for 5 minutes? Not about the game. And then they have what has to be the most intense fight on Survivor maybe ever.
Wow.
Where like they're so honest to each other. Like there's one point where he's just like, what's the big deal? What's the big deal? And Cade starts crying and she goes, I am embarrassed. It was promised and it's like embarrassing for you to just like screw me over like that. And I really felt for Cade there because I'm like, oh, she's like, her pride is like, it's very hard, especially when you're in this like intense pressure cooker situation and you're on television and you feel like you can really trust someone and then they just rip the rug out from underneath you. It must not feel good.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a moment with Ian where I feel like he alluded to some sort of sadness, deep sadness within himself. I forget the exact wording. At one point, he's like, I'm a scatterbrain.
Yeah. He's like, I wouldn't deliberately do it. I'm a scattered brain. Do you want me to step out to prove it?
Jeez.
No one's done that. No one's throwing that out there in your regular Survivor fight, you know?
Oh, Cade, you know what he says? He goes, I'm off my rocker in a million different ways.
Yeah, that's it. Then I got like kind of sad. I was like, oh man, this is really real.
Yeah. She is such a powerful person and he is such a like seems like a child here almost. It does feel like a little bit of a power imbalance, but it's also I do feel for Cade too in a way where I'm just like either I could see myself at different points of my life at different ages being both of these people.
There is another thing that I was thinking about, and I feel like you had touched on this, where Ian does bring up for a fraction of a second the fact that she got him out of that challenge, right?
Yeah.
He's still thinking about it.
Yeah.
And I think that's where Caroline, I feel like it all comes together, right? He was thinking of that. And I think that he felt like he couldn't trust her after that, obviously, which is what led to everything that happened in the previous episode. And yeah, it feels like this is just all the feelings from that finally coming to a head. And the other thing that I was thinking about is when Katie's talking about feeling betrayed, I was wondering what she was talking about in terms of, was she talking about the reward? Was she talking about voting out Greg? Was she talking about all of it? And the thing about that is like she was about to betray him. It seemed like she was.
Tom.
It seemed like she was about to betray Ian
By voting out Tom.
Yeah.
Oh,
right?
So she was. That's what she was committing to in the previous episode.
I believe yes.
Okay, got it.
But I mean, she also could have. I mean, there's a good chance that this is all BS too. It just doesn't. I think that she was. I think maybe she is being unreasonable here. There is a really good. I mean, she probably is, and in a way, she's a 29-year-old woman, really kind of maybe pushing in the knife a little deep, but.
Yeah, I mean, and I would say both her and Tom continued to push in the knife.
Yeah.
Strategically.
And it's probably, honestly, it's probably a gender thing, but Tom bugs me more, like a million times more.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think with their thing, I think with the Cade and Ian conversation, argument, I don't know, like I think it is something where Cade hurt his feelings with what she did. And so then he, in whether he was thinking it or not, kind of wanted to get back at her a little bit.
Yeah.
Be like, you hurt me.
Yeah.
I want to make you understand that you hurt me. When really, if he was thinking strategically, which obviously he wasn't, because this is like his closest friend. She calls him the closest thing she has to family out here.
Yeah.
So like, I can't imagine what their bond has been. It seems very strong.
It's super intense. And it's like, and I think that she feels really unsteady and she takes it out on him a little bit.
If Ian was like approaching this thing strategically, which obviously he wasn't, ideally he would have set aside whatever hurt feelings he had from Cade knocking him out of that challenge. And because he kind of did coerce her into making that last minute change to vote for Greg so there wouldn't be a tie, because he told her right before they went to tribal, which isn't the ideal scenario.
No.
I think she has already raised concerns that she was, or, if you were close with someone, you could probably assume that they didn't love being told about something right before it happens where they don't really have any control or choice. That would have been a great opportunity to be like, Cade, the last couple of days have been really weird with us. Like, I know I didn't tell you the news about Greg in the best way that kind of respected you as a player. Let's go eat whatever the food was in the mansion in my Corvette. Like, that would have been a real opportunity for him to, like, reconnect with her as, like, a friend and an ally in the game. And this is all, like, backseat playing. But it's just, like, he obviously knew she was upset, but wasn't really attuned to... Again, I think an age thing. I mean, it's hard to know how to deal with upset people at any age, but like he just wasn't attuned to it at all.
No, I think he. Yeah, I think he knew she'd be like. Also, I think he thought she'd be mad in the same way he was mad, which is kind of passive aggressively, and maybe dig him back a little later. I don't think he thought he should be mad in the way where he wouldn't be able to talk to her or like being iced out. Like I think that just like really unsettled him. And I also get that from Anne's point of view, like, I know that, like, someone's given me a paper cut and I've, like lashed back with a machete. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, you know, nobody's perfect. And he says, friends make mistakes all the time.
Oh,
he, like, cries that line.
Yeah, he does.
Ian.
It's so, and then he hugs her and he goes, I'll do my damnedest never to do that again.
I know this was a really emotionally hard for both of them, but I'm like, appreciative and thankful that it happened.
I find it refreshing for people to like just exactly say how they feel. And I think that Cade even having a moment saying like how she was embarrassed, she felt like abandoned by him. I feel like that's all like, that's good stuff. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
It's true stuff. She's not making it all about him. She's talking about her own feelings. I don't know why I have this voice on. I'm like if Tom was a therapist.
Whenever you speak with authority, you have to talk
Honestly,
like Tom.
This is my new character, Tom the therapist. Tom is not going to be a good therapist in this next scene because he straight up is, I do not like the vibes of him here. But he goes to Cade and he's like, if you get one of us out, then next time we're going to get you out. Like, and Cade calls it bullying, and she's like, Tom sucks today. He's being mean, threatening. I don't like it. So she calls Tom mean, threatening, and that he sucks. And Tom tells Ian that Cade is playing him, and he insinuates that she was never even mad over the reward. It was only to save face when she flipped, which maybe. And he also says, the only thing to do now is threaten her back into the fold by telling her, if you betray us after we carried you in those early days. And I'm just like, Tom, betray us after we carried you in those early days? What? That's such a dad. That's like dad guilt. That's like, yeah. I've never seen dad guilt like that.
And I think the best word for it is one that Tom used to describe himself in the Talking with T-Bird he did. I listened to some of it, and he describes himself as sanctimonious at the end. And it's just like, he's just so like grandstandy, and like it's super annoying, but it's working because he's working with Ian.
Yeah.
Who's like just wants to make him happy basically at this point. So
I mean, don't be so sanctimonious, Tom.
I mean, yeah,
Don't be so
couldn't have said it better.
Don't be so sanctimonious.
We go to the immunity challenge, which is an obstacle course to a 9-tile puzzle where you have to match perfectly back at your map. So you have to run out to this puzzle where there's 9 tiles, run back through an obstacle course, and then try to recreate that puzzle in the exact same order. A lot of tiles. And if you call Jeff over and you don't have it right, you have to go all the way back through the obstacle again and come back. Beep beep fashion alert. Jen is wearing Greg's shorts, and Katie was wearing them earlier, and both of them look great. And I miss board shorts, and
I was
and it's unfortunate. I miss them, but honestly, I never could have them because my caboose, it doesn't work. It just doesn't work.
The train doesn't go in that station.
Sometimes some people aren't built for magic, and that's me. I can wear other things.
Are you calling board shorts magic?
Yes, I am.
I mean, it's a very mid-2000s like PacSun look.
I'm a
and
sucker.
I did not partake in that style as well.
No, there's a lot of midriffs and no butts. Like
yes, that was the look. Very what's it called? Blue Crush.
Yes. Great things about this challenge. Tom almost falls several times, which I love. But he does win, and everyone's visibly disappointed.
Yeah.
I feel like I would have been good at this challenge because my strategy when I saw it initially was just memorize each row, do each row. Mm-hmm. There's like 4 rows, right?
Right.
I think.
Right.
Just do a row at a time.
Yep.
You can do that. And everybody went back and forth more than 4 times.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Just do the 4. Do that. I feel like I would have won this. I would have won this.
Do you think he would have done okay with like the tiles and all that kind of stuff? I mean,
the tile placement or the running would be
the obstacle course part of it in between the memorization at one end and recreating it at the other.
I might have been premature in saying that I would be good at this challenge. I would have been able to.
That's a hallmark of this podcast, so don't worry about it. Yeah.
I would have been able to do it in 4. How long those 4 would have taken, I cannot. I have no data to back that up.
Oh, you're going to have to gather some data this summer. You're going to have to go over a couple logs.
Yeah. Oh, no, and Cade, I didn't say that to be like, liar. Because, again, every single time I see an obstacle course, regardless of what it involves, I'm just like, I'd be great. I could do it. And talk about no data. The only data I have is injuries. But I'm still like, oh, no, I could do it. So you don't have to, like, defend anything.
I am bad at both things, obstacle courses, and because of my dyslexia, I could never do this puzzle. I could go back 20 billion times. I can't, if I have 2 screens open and I have to copy 4-digit number, I have to go number by number. There's just no, and they still, sometimes I'm like, was that a 7? Like my brain could never do it. Never, never, never. We go back to camp and Tom says, I got lucky. Ian talks to Katie and he's like, I made a mistake on both levels, friendship and the game. And Katie's like, make me reconsider who I should trust. And then he's like, maybe you could forgive me. And she's like, I promise myself no promises. And Karen starts to realize, oh man, I could be in trouble if Katie saves Ian tonight. And we go to tribal council. Greg looks great.
I was going to say, this is a hot cast, hot jury.
HJ, baby.
Yeah, HJ.
People think it's hand job, but I assure you, it's only what I want to do to that hot jury.
HJs for the HJ.
HJ for the HJ. Well, you just said
New merch coming out soon.
Yeah. HJ for the HJ.
And it's just on gloves.
Yeah, exactly.
Jesus.
Sorry.
Just a Colby tank top.
Yeah.
And Jeff mentions right away, he's like, Ian, you didn't take Katie. Isn't that really dumb? And Katie says, that was my darkest day yet. And now I don't know what to believe. He broke a promise. And Ian is like, it was my biggest regret in the game. It was bad for the game. It was bad for my friendship. And then Karen is like, you know what? I'm going to spill everything.
Well, first, before she starts spilling, she says one of my favorite lines since like Mad Dog called Tina a constellation.
Yeah.
Which was, that tiff was a revelation.
Yes. It was a revelation. They realized.
That tiff was a revelation.
Yeah. And then Jeff is like, you just opened a can of worms. And she's like, I don't care. I think the jury should know what's going on. And she also, Tom is just like, accuses her of something, and she goes, "Oh my God, Tom, you're such a liar."
That's how she is in court, actually.
One thought that I had during this is I can't keep track of who's lying and who isn't at this point.
I don't
Like, as accusations were going back and forth, I was like, I don't know who actually said what.
Oh, whether or not Tom or Karen are lying there?
Yeah, or many other things that were said during the jury. I just had no idea who was right.
Basically, everyone can deny it and everyone could say it was true because I'm sure they're just like placating each other left and right. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the thing. I just was like, yeah, I feel like Tom has like put in a lot of work to make Karen feel comfortable and like feel like she has a future in the game. And Ian and Katie have been really close the entire time, and Tom is probably also, I mean, he has a very different technique with Katie, which she calls bullying. In this, most recently. But until then,
strong arming,
yeah. And so it's like they're just playing the game. I mean,
yeah,
quote unquote, playing the game very hard.
Right.
Like I don't think Jen is lying to anyone, but she doesn't really have a lot of power right now. So
I will say it is a messy tribal. Everybody's like talking. Katie, and Katie talks about how Ian is bad in front of the jury. That's on purpose. Karen is talking shit about Tom and Katie and Ian to Greg on the jury. Like everybody's just like, they are, it's the end of the game, baby. And Karor is roaring. So we go to the vote. And Ian votes for Karen, and he goes, "Best 3 seconds of my day. I cannot wait for you to go home." And it's just like, I didn't know Ian hated Karen that much. It's a funny moment. Karen goes home, and I just want to read a few lines from her goodbye speech.
Yes.
Because it's like, "Sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but too bad. All that stuff was true. And if you want to shoot the messenger, shoot the messenger. Let's see where that gets you in the end."
Me every time I leave a family party,
Amazing. It's like everybody else is like, I had a magical experience or like I was blindsided. She's like, just 2 middle fingers.
Yeah, so voted out Karen Grodel, she was a 46-year-old civil rights lawyer from Ohio. Not too much on Karen, honestly. I mean, mostly revolving law. She obviously went to law school. She worked in insurance defense and real estate law before finding her niche in civil rights and employment discrimination. She served for 2 years as the executive director for the Women's Law Fund, a nonprofit org, before she opened her own practice. And she does currently still have her own practice, Karen Grodel Law. It has a website, and I don't design websites, so I'm not like one to talk, but it does have a lot of like what feel like lawyer version of stock photos. And so you can just take a peek at it just to enjoy those. It's not just a Karen thing. I just thought they were funny. I found them amusing. And then if you couldn't guess about Karen, she's a bit of an intense athlete. She enjoys running, tennis, biking, rollerblading. Her favorite activity of all time, spending time with her daughters. And she described herself as ambitious, energetic, and adventurous. But yeah, that's Karen. She has long hair now.
What? I can only picture her
yeah,
as like a tiny, short-haired, intense thing.
No, she's now a long-haired, tiny, intense thing.
All right, Karen. All right. She's a character.
Yeah, kind of made it to the final 5 without really having an alliance.
Amazing.
Which is...
Whenever her name and job came up, I always liked her a little bit more every single time. Not saying that I didn't like her. I liked her a lot, but every time I saw a civil rights lawyer, I was like, "What? That's awesome!" And it always made me feel great and like really respect her every time that came up.
It does help that that's like that can be a hero profession. So you're just like, oh, a civil rights lawyer, even though you sound annoying here. I probably share your values, Karen.
Yeah.
I share the values of a civil rights lawyer.
Yeah, it would have been less palatable if it was like, I don't know, school principal even,
Oh, God, I know. If she was a butch.
If she was a butch, yeah. Exactly.
Episode 14, the finale, the ultimate shock. And I just want to say, I know it's uncomfortable, but this is the best finale of the 10 seasons we watched.
Oh, yeah.
With maybe the exception of Borneo. But I mean, this finale is so good.
I agree about the top 2. But I feel pretty confident in saying this is above Borneo. But yeah.
Normally, finales are like a real... maybe I say this every single finale. I'm just like, normally finales suck, but this one's good. But normally finales suck, but this one's really good.
Well, I would say the other ones, you really have to be like a truffled pig looking for the goodness, because it's not always
Oink,
evident.
oink.
Oink, oink, I'm sniffing it out. And this one, you don't have to hunt, you know?
No.
It's just out and about.
Oh, it's so good. The end game is so exciting. You just don't know where it's going to go. Okay, we have the long recap. It just reminds me that Oolong really messed up by voting off Yolanda right away. The only older person on their tribe and a strong female. That's such a mistake. Morning at Karor, and Katie says, Karen did me a huge favor last night. I wanted the jury to know that Ian betrayed me. And Ian says, I'm actually bad with the jury right now, but now I'm not the biggest target. Tom is. I'm like, guess what, Ian? That was always true. And we get the final 4 breakfast.
This is nice.
This is nice. And everybody, and Tom calls it an attaboy. Something for nothing when you do a good job and then someone in your truck 108 will be like, attaboy.
Something for
Something for nothing.
And the chicks for free.
But I'm also just like, Tom, it's not something for nothing.
Yeah, you just were out here for like 38 days.
Yeah. Finally, we have Ian be like, okay, I'm ready to vote off Dad.
There comes a point in every boy's life.
Where he's just like, I will slay my father.
Yes.
They go to the challenge, and it's a Chevrolet SSR. And it goes to the winner of Survivor. And you know what? I'm glad Tom got that ugly car. But it's weird because Jeff is like, look in the glove box. Again, he's not Tom. He's like, look at the glove box. And so they look in the glove box and it's a blank check for $1 million. And he's like, don't forget, this is a game show. Which is really funny because Ian does forget.
Yeah.
It's also weird because they don't usually like show a check to tempt the players. Like it's very, very weird.
It was just like, look at the glove box. Again, he doesn't talk like that.
It's also just like a blank. It's like a boring check. Like I kind of wish it was like, oh, it's my mom's checkbook and it has like Mickey Mouse's on it or something. You know,
all of that
That'd
will be
fun.
yours.
Yeah.
Remember that? Remember in season 1 where Jeff is like, here's my credit card. Yeah. I don't know if it was season 1. It was some season. He gives someone their credit card. He's like, oh no.
They did it in season 3. They did it in season 4.
Right, Marquesas. It's when Pascal's like, the bill. Whatever. It's too confusing for me to tell you what's happening in this challenge, but it ends with a flying fox that only 2 people get to do. And it comes down to straight up luck.
Yeah. Can I also call out one thing that maybe you didn't notice about, and I swear I saw it with my own eyes.
Okay.
When they show the the crew people doing the challenge, like to the audience.
Was one of them Heidi?
No, I swear the people on the Flying Fox, at least one of them was just nude.
What?
I swear it was all blur. I don't know if it's just because they were wearing like board shorts and didn't have an ass to hold it up, and so it was like falling down.
Lucky
but
bitch.
I swear at least one of them was nude. It was like blur.
Oh my God.
And I was like, oh, cool. Did they let them do that nude? Because I bet that feels great against the bod, you know?
I bet that does. Oh my gosh, what a vulnerable
Just air it
thing.
out, you know?
Air it out.
But anyways, go back and look, guys, you know, hot tips.
Okay, wow, scandalous.
Yeah.
But yeah, it comes down to 2 people. They're doing a flying fox, and then they have to guess numbers, and the first one who guesses the right numbers wins. It comes down to Daddy and son, and Daddy guesses right. Mm-hmm. It's so funny because, like, even during this moment, I'm like, lose, Tom, lose. I'm ready for you to lose. Also, Jen and Katie look miserable.
Yeah, well, and Katie says something when they get back to the beach, and she's like, that challenge took forever. It was like 3 hours.
Yeah. It did look like it was really tiring. That's why I couldn't explain it to you, because it's too many things. You have to, like, there's a grappling hook. There was, like,
oh yeah,
rings of some sort, keys. Ian says, I was not sure who I was going to send home, but now I guess I don't have to decide, so it's Jen. He was like, I wasn't sure if it was going to be Tom or Jen, but now I don't have to send Dad home. He won, so I guess it's Jen. And he's so thrilled. And Ian, he's sitting pretty, made up with Katie. He doesn't have to vote off Daddy. Everything is good. Tom decides that he's going to be like, it's been a pleasure and an honor to play this long with you to Jen. Because Jen is like, vote off Ian. And he's like, I can't. He's my boy. And he just basically just is like, I would never vote off Ian. Ian, we would never vote off each other. Never. We're truck one away all the way. And they're all happy and laughing and hugging Jen. And it's really sweet. You're like, oh, this is a sweet boot. And then all of a sudden, Ian says, if I had won today, it would have been a tough one. And Tom is like, what? And then he like steps away and has a confessional. He's like, maybe you wouldn't have chosen me. Makes me think.
I mean, Ian, like you said before, he's off his rocker in
a million different ways. Yeah.
I don't. Just keep your mouth shut.
So
Just keep your pretty mouth shut.
what really bothers me about this is that Tom instantly rewrites history on what just happened, because what he actually said was, it's like, oh man, I'm thinking, hey, did I just make $1 million mistake? And Ian's like commiserating, like, yeah, man, it's a tough decision. Yeah, I'm glad I didn't have to make it, which kind of makes sense.
Yeah, of course.
Based off of what Tom said. And then when Tom is like, oh, wait a second, he even says after that, it's like, I was saying how easy a decision it was, and then you came out of nowhere and said this.
And this is the difference between Katie and Tom. And this is why I get more upset with Tom. Because what Tom is right here is hurt and embarrassed. It was like he feels embarrassed that he was like, I would never vote off Ian, even though it'll be close. And then when he hears Ian might have done it to him, he like is legitimately hurt because nothing really happened. Ian didn't have that chance. And even if he did, he might not have voted off Tom. But the fact that Tom is like, it hurt my feelings. You said it was hard and then I thought it was easy. So he does say it. He does admit it. Yeah. And, Ian's trying to wiggle his way out of it. And Tom's like, did you say to Katie and Jen that you were going to vote me off? And Ian's like, I was playing a game, Dad. And he's like, that's all I needed to know. And he walks away like a distant dad. And it's horrifying.
Yeah. Withholding love.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Ian probably would have voted Tom off, or might have, right? But at the same time, I think I lost my train of thought there. Sorry.
No.
Honestly, what I thought of when you started saying that was like, I honestly feel like Tom is more upset in this moment with the idea that Ian would have felt like the decision was hard. Like, I feel like that almost hurt him more than if Ian did win and voted him off. Like, I feel like he would have, for whatever reason, my gut is like, I think Tom would have handled that better, almost.
I mean,
like, he would have just respected the move. Like, how could they not? I think he does.
That's I think that's why I think he's embarrassed, because he said to everybody that he would not kick off Ian, and then Ian did it, and that hurt his ego, and that's what's going on here. I almost forgot about a really important thing, which is that Jen has this moment where she tells, where Tom is like,
oh, this is a huge part.
This is a huge part. And he's just like, I thought he was my best boy, but now I'm not sure if I was his best boy. And Jen is like, dude, he was going to vote you off today. Ooh, I'm sorry. You didn't know? And it's so awesome. And she's like, that was the deal. And that was the impetus for him to talk to Ian.
Yeah, it was pretty great because Jen is here now.
Yeah. Cade, I cut you off to say that, and I'm sorry. What were you going to say?
Not at all. I cut you off there to say not at all.
It's Zoom, baby.
I think I got back what I was going to say. I think it's like, okay, yeah, I said that I was going to vote you off, but I was just placating them, right? And I think Jeff brings it up later on, like, well, if you were placating them, why wouldn't you have mentioned it? But I don't know. It's like, I think Ian's point that it never happened. Like we don't know what would have happened because I didn't have to make that decision also kind of makes sense. I don't know. I'm just thinking my way through this. I'm still uncomfortable.
It's emotionally complicated. You have to think your way through it.
Yeah.
Tom's reaction is so intense that I have to imagine it comes from embarrassment.
You mentioned in a previous episode these emotional older men. Just these older men who get super, super sad and angry about the things that happen on the island.
Oh yeah, like in Vanuatu.
I was listening to that podcast, so I think that's what that's where it comes from.
For sure. I mean, yeah, it's also just like everybody is pushed to the point where you don't make all perfect decisions unless you are a sociopath for the most part. Like your humanity is just being pushed up against a wall, and you're using things you didn't think you'd use. You know, you just really find out who you are. And who Tom is someone who like is really, really nice until, you know, you cross him, and then he's gonna alpha roll you.
Then that's not what he's talking about.
It's not what he's talking about. Not what I'm talking about, Ian. I loved you. You were my son.
Well, for what it's worth, you know, Tom is a pretty dominant winner, and he gets talked about as being one of the more dominant winners. But he's not a psychopath.
No,
like he's a very flawed human, dominant winner. Versus we've had Brian Heidick in Thailand, very dominant winner. You're never gonna get any of this shit from Brian.
No,
I don't think he shed one tear.
No, no,
like,
no. I mean, he may like bully someone to quit the game, but it would look different probably.
Oh yeah,
yeah. We'll talk about it when we get to it, because like my whole thing is that even if I was hurt and I understood Tom's hurt, his reaction to Ian's reaction at the end of this game is not great in my opinion. Okay, tribal council. Jeff is like, it's way past sundown, so I know there was some drama. And then I thought, is that true? So do they not go to tribal council if they're like, this is juicy?
Oh, I mean, if that was happening when maybe normally production would carry them off to tribal, I'm sure they were like, no, we got to keep rolling. Like, we can't interrupt this.
I mean, I guess that makes sense, but for some reason, the purist to me is I'm just like, tribal council is tribal council. They ran out of time.
They have a lot of time issues this season.
Yeah. So Tom says, I thought Ian was my boy, but then I heard I'd be a tough decision. And he's like, I'm risking $1 million for someone who wouldn't have my back. And Jeff is like, Ian, you like literally are causing so much trouble. Everybody's super mad at you. And then there's like this like double talk conversation where Jeff is like, Ian, why didn't you tell Tom that you were pretending to make a final 3 deal with Katie and Jen? And Ian's like, I did. And Tom's like, he didn't do that. And that's the 3rd strike against him. And then Tom lists like other 2 things. We had a gentleman's agreement that we would try to take each other to the final 3. There is no try. Ian said try. There is no try. It was we would take each other to the final 3 despite the physical threat we posed to each other. It's just...
Do or do not, there is no try,
I like
all right?
Yoda, he's my favorite. People think I'm a Hans guy. I'm not.
I'm a Yoda guy. This is the closest probably either of these men have gone to therapy in their life at this time.
Yes. Yes.
It's feeling like it.
Jen is really happy, and then Katie pipes in, and she's kind of sad. She's like, Anne seems really concerned about what Tom thinks and not concerned about what I think. And I'm like, oh my God. Oh my God. Just getting it from all sides.
This is where I think Katie begins to overplay
100%.
her hand, and it destroys her game. I think she was in a good spot right before this. Totally destroys her game.
It's not a great human move. Like, it just is not good. I think that, I also think like her treating Ian like this probably contributed to his decision later in the game. And if he had stuck on, I mean, I'm not saying that he could have beat Tom. I mean, Tom says even now that he would never get off that buoy. Never. Ian maybe could beat him, and then he would take Cade, and Cade would probably have had a better chance against Ian than she did against Tom because she could manipulate Ian in Final Tribal Council. She does mess up her own game, you're right. Right before they vote, she says, "Have you lied to me in the last 24 hours?" And Ian says, "Have I lied to you in the last 24 hours?" A long pause, and then goes, "No." And it's a tie. Cade votes for Jen, and so does Ian. Jen and Tom vote for Ian. So Cade and Tom vote again, and it's still tied. This is where we have our first fire-making tiebreaker.
Our first Final Four.
Final Four tie. And they do the fire-making challenge that Stephanie and Bobby John did, except it's a little bit different. Instead of lighting a torch, they're using the rope, as you'll see in later seasons. So they corrected a little bit. Ian just crushes her because, I mean, he makes fire all the time, and Jen doesn't. Jen, in her goodbye speech, says she's disappointed in Cade and says, "Cade, I don't know if you have my vote any longer." And I agree to keep, I mean, for Cade, she would not win against Jen. She would not win against Tom. She might win against Ian. That was her move. It just is a hard way to get there.
Yeah, I feel for, I mean, it's like I love Cade and I'm glad she's in it for the entirety of the game. She has rough pathways. Like, I don't ever know what, like, her clear path to victory was.
No.
But Ian was probably her best bet. So, yeah, that was kind of her option.
Yep.
Yeah, so voted out, Jen Lyon. She was a 32-year-old nanny from California.
She was 32?
Right? I thought she was much younger, but she was a youthful 32.
Wow.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Huh.
She looked great.
I know. So yeah, she was born in Nevada. She grew up in Washington and Oregon. At the time, she was pursuing her master's degree in family consumer sciences, which I actually don't know what family consumer sciences are, if that's like marketing, nutrition, who knows. She was working as a nanny and as a part-time photographer. So after Palau, she was in the 2007 movie Daddy Day Camp.
Oh.
I don't know if you ever saw that movie, but you'll see Jen in there. Sadly, Jen was diagnosed with breast cancer, and on January 19th, 2010, 10 days after she attended the 10-year anniversary party that Survivor had, she passed away from breast cancer. She was the first cast member of Survivor to pass away, and the season that was airing at that time, dedicated one of their episodes to her. She was actually really good friends with Jeff Probst, sort of like in the end of her life. They just like were really close and they talked a lot. And I was reading this one interview that Jeff did, just talking about Jen. This was just, I guess, just some stuff that I thought was interesting that he said. He said, "We talked a lot about the idea that death is such a hard subject and so many of us simply don't know what is appropriate to say. So we end up saying the wrong thing for all the right reasons. If I learned anything from Jen, it's this. Don't be afraid to ask someone how they are truly feeling about dying. Don't shy away from the scary parts of death. They need someone to talk to you about what is going on inside their head. Most importantly, encourage them to let go of the expectations of others and give them permission to do what is right for them, even if it means letting go."
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
She was universally beloved among survivors.
Yeah.
She was
Yeah.
just one of the more popular survivors in terms of like everybody loved her. And she does seem like a real joy.
I did not see that coming. That's insane.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, no, it's really...
What a gut
Yeah,
punch.
2 beautiful women from this season. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you had heard that, Cade, about Angie as well.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
no,
Yeah,
really?
this year,
When?
earlier this year. But yeah,
geez.
so I know, really sad, but I mean, yeah.
Beautiful
She
life. She was
beautiful life.
absolutely,
Yeah, and
she was
beloved.
loved. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. She was also, I mean, it's a small thing, but she was also like really kind to fans and stuff. She was really into survivors. So she spent the last couple years of her life really like surrounded by people who really loved her.
It's awesome.
Back at camp, Tom and Cade beat up on Ian. Tom's like, were you not going to take me to the final 3 and fight it out like men? And Katie's like, just tell the truth, Ian. And Ian is a horrible liar. And he's like, you're crucifying me for a move I didn't make. And Tom is like, a move you didn't have the chance to make.
Okay, and so my feelings about the previous Katie and Ian scene on the beach, and then Ian and Tom before Tribal Council, where those felt very like sincerely emotional, and I'm sure maybe there was some strategy or game stuff in play, but those felt more like percentage wise, it just felt more emotional, sincere, that kind of thing. This post tribal thing to me feels almost like 80% strategic.
Yes, it does.
If not just like 99%.
Agreed.
Like I don't think emotionally, I don't know. Like I don't know their minds, but it reads so false compared to what felt so sincere previously.
Totally.
Yeah, it was both of them twisting the knife. It was
so weird. And then Tom is like, I'd love you to be a man and fess up, but I guess that's something that comes with age. Is like really like so irritating and like condescending and sanctimonious.
I wish Willard was there just to tell Tom to shut the fuck up. Like, I like just wish someone his own age was around to be like, stop.
Totally. It felt like Daddy was playing with his kids. Like, you know what I mean? It was really bad. In the morning, Ian is crying and he's saying last night was the worst night of his life. And Katie comes out and she's like, you didn't have to sleep out here. He was like, I was watching the fire because he's sad sacked. Katie was like, win today and bring me to the final two. And he's like, that was my intention. And she's like, I just wish I could believe that. And we get this heartbreaking confessional from Ian being like, I didn't come on here to play the villain, be a backstabber, especially to those two. You play the game for yourself and you come out here for $1 million. But the bottom line is I wanted this final three and we got here.
He says something else. He says something like, it's like, I was playing the game. Everybody's playing the game.
Does.
He keeps on saying that, which
he's trying to convince himself. We have to do the rites of passage with like no one being tight. It's kind of weird. It's a weird, but this rites of passage is famous. If only, I mean, there's a lot of funny things, but I think Katie just taking Janu's torch and just being like, dumping it into the water with no words is so funny.
Just throwing it like a torpedo into the water.
Yeah, I think all my favorite moments were Katie, because she was also the one throwing in all the things, but she says to Bobby John's torch, you were hot.
Yes.
Throws it in the water.
I love it. I love her. It's really, really funny. Also, she says, Karen, you and I had a lot of ups and downs, but I genuinely liked her as a person. And I don't know if Karen genuinely liked you as a person, Katie.
I never really like the rites of passage. It always seems to me to really slow down the pace at a point where I want it to speed up. And I'm not a huge
you're talking
fan.
to a huge ROP fanatic over here. I love the rites of passage, and I totally agree with you. It is a vibe murderer. It kills the momentum. 100% is a television product. Don't understand why it's there. For me, I love being reminded of who came before. You know.
I mean, just for me, I don't like to forget the people that, were part of the show.
I also like to hear where they are right now at Ponderosa, where they're like, I tried to be the best I could, but, sometimes it doesn't work out. Like, that's always what they say, like, while their montages going. But, yeah.
I feel like they don't, I don't know. I get with Palau, this specific Palau one. I mean, these three did not know most of the people on Oolong, so what are they going to say? But for most seasons, like, I just miss when they actually have something to say about someone. Like, I love rites of passage, but I feel like they never show them actually say anything. It's just like, Cade, he had glasses. And it's like, you knew more about him than he had glasses. Like, why not show, like, they had to have said something, even if it was inappropriate, like Johnny Fairplay being like, calling Dare hot, or Katie calling Bobby John hot, or something. Like, I don't know.
I agree with you 100%. I also think they're on their way to the final immunity challenge, Caroline, and maybe they're not in a quippy mood.
Always got to be quipping.
Listen, I'm an RO.
Those are the rules of Survivor, as from Survivor Rewind.
Yep.
1.
Got to be quipping.
Yeah. 2, always make really broad generalizations and confessionals.
Yep, love that. Love dogs, hate cats. Stick to your guns.
Yep.
But no, Cade, I completely agree with you. It is a vibe killer.
Yes,
and in a long finale, no one needs like 10 minutes of like, nah, 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 there with like Janu crying in the water.
You were just doing the Jurassic Park theme song, and I'm just picturing like Janu coming out of the water, like. Yeah.
Yeah. So we go to the final community challenge, which is you float on a buoy as long as you can. You can sit down, but you cannot touch any part of the buoy, and you have to be barefoot. And Jeff goes, I'm guessing no one is willingly going to step down for this challenge.
You're right, Josh.
And at first it's windy, and that's hard, and then it's rainy, and that's hard. But Tom says, not as hard as sun. So then it's sunny.
Guess what? Nature said, I don't like it, Tom.
After 5 hours, it's nighttime. And Cade steps down after 5 hours, which is that's already the longest a final immunity
I
has
was going to
lasted.
say, she does fantastic.
She does a great
Overlooked
job.
story for this challenge.
She does an incredible job. And I mean, of course, she gets usurped in the most intense way, but she does great. Cade steps down. She says, I'm in a bad way, which I've recently learned was she had diarrhea. And so she had to get off.
Well, all right. Yeah.
Both Ian and Tom say they're pretty good. And Katie is sleeping, and it's 4.5 hours. 4.5 hours have passed since she got off. So it's 9.5 hours now. Tom says to Ian, if you step off that perch, I'll take you. If you don't step off that perch willingly, I'm going to take Katie. And Ian is like, no way. I thought you wanted to duke it out, Tom. This is amazing. This is Darth Vader and Luke. This is a moment where it's like father and son, and like the dad is like, give up, boy. And he's like, I won't do it, Dad. And he's like, no, I'm going to beat you. I'm going to show you I'm a man, someone you need to respect. And then, of course, it goes a different way. But it's really, it's like, I love this.
It is really good.
It's so good. And it's 10 hours. 10 hours in. I will also say during this challenge, apparently Jeff was getting so annoyed. First of all, there's never a challenge like this again. Every single one has like increasing difficulty because Jeff is not sitting out on a dock for 11 hours ever again.
Jesus.
But apparently Jeff at one point was like, okay, we're going to make you stand on one foot. And Tom goes, no. Those are the rules of the game.
Yeah, right? I can't believe when he said that, I was like, that's some Tom shit.
It's some Tom shit.
You only get away with that if you're like Tom or equal status wise.
And who's equal status to Tom? Obama? Maybe?
Yeah.
Maybe?
Yeah.
Like he's definitely, wow. But anyway.
Oh, and also they said like there were like a period of like 4 or 5 hours when no one spoke.
Yeah. Total silence, which doesn't normally happen either.
I was just going to say, I think he'd be good at this.
I actually do think I would too. I am super skinny, so low weight threshold that I have to like keep up. And I also think that I have the place inside me where I can go and feel no feelings for.
Oh my God.
10
Where
hours.
is that place inside? Is that place involved in all of us? Because I'd like to find it.
Wait, the place where the feelings don't hurt?
Yeah. You mean there's a place inside me where no feelings live? The Great Valley. That's amazing.
But no, I feel that. I feel that for you.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I would not be good at this. I'm not good.
Oh,
I'm not. No, I'm a fidget spinner. I wouldn't be good at this. At 10 hours, suddenly Ian says, as you know, I've had an interesting day. I'll go down and you take Katie, and I will give up the $1 million to get your friendship. And Ian has said, I can't leave the game with this on my shoulders. And then Tom says, Ian would have had my friendship after the game anyways. But with this, he wins my respect back. If I'm thinking of me at my most manipulative, at my most vindictive, at my most competitive, and I have a gear. Mm-hmm. I have a gear. And it's turbo. You know what I mean? And I would never want someone to quit to let me win. I would never. That would be horrifying. That is an asterisk. That's how I'd feel. To me, that is like, I'm just like, all that talk about Tom having character and all that, I would be like, no, let me beat you.
Exactly. Right? What can
Yeah,
we duke it out like men,
yes.
right?
No,
It's-
not manipulate me like a woman.
That's some woman. This is like women's issues at the school or whatever.
Yeah,
you know?
it's like he's poisoning the soup he's bringing to you. Like it's just not. It's not. I really like. It is. Is really confusing to me that this wasn't a bigger knock on Tom.
I mean, some might see it as a strategic move on his part to emotionally bully this person to the point where they wanted to step down, and people have stepped down from these challenges for other reasons.
Yeah.
So that might be a take on it. I mean, it feels really incongruous with Tom, how he talks about his own game and how his game gets talked about.
Yeah.
It is like not the people duking it out at the end and that kind of thing, unless you're talking emotionally duking it, which is a gross phrase.
Emotional Duke.
That's what Katie was doing. Yeah, it's pretty intense. Like, this is honestly one of my, I don't know if like saying it's one of my favorite Survivor moments of all time is like, it feels weird to say favorite, but I have to say it's like a combination of all the reasons I like Survivor. So even though it's like, oh my God, like what the fuck is Tom doing to Ian and what's Ian doing and like all that stuff, it's still like one of my favorite things that has happened on this show.
Oh, it's human to the max, baby.
Yeah.
And it also, I think that for me, I understand that there is no win to me that would be worth, if I was in Ian's situation, which honestly I'd never get myself in. No, I'm kidding. At 23, I would get myself in a worse situation than Ian got himself in. But I feel like no money is worth. I would pay a lot of money to get rid of my anxiety. You know, and I'd pay $1 million. So if there is a chance, like where I could be like, I could be at peace, and that would cost me $900,000. I will write you that check. Like that, I also have that gear. So I completely relate to that feeling. Is just like, Ian is a real human being on Survivor.
And I also think that he probably at that point just did not want to face a jury. Like
he couldn't take it.
Yeah, he had these two people berating him, and he's like, I'm gonna face this from everybody on jury. I would not be able to handle this. There's no point.
No.
So
I totally agree. But they get on the dock, and Tom is like, are you sure, Ian? And Ian says yes. And then Tom says, Jeff is like, why don't we have tribal council right here? I'm like, I bet, Jeff, you're sick of being out there. And Tom says, I'm going to vote out my buddy Ian. Hell of a guy, and I respect him. And Ian smiles wide. And then Ian goes off in the boat, and he does the Caro roar on the boat.
Yeah.
And I have chills. I wrote down that I had chills when I watched it, and I have chills right now.
It's like Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader at the end of Return of the Jedi, where he's like, I won't fight you. So that he doesn't go to the dark side.
That's 100% what it is. It is. He's just like, you know what? I'm choosing good. Dad, I'm not like you.
Yeah.
I don't need this money. Yeah.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Morning at Karor.
Oh, I'm just going to say goodbye to Ian.
Oh my God, my baby boy.
Oh.
My baby boy. I just do want to say that in all his post interviews, he's always like, my parents didn't raise me like blank to be a type of person, to be a jerk. And I just want to say I called that he had good parents from Jump Street.
You did. You did.
And this is what a boy with good parents does. He's like, I don't care about fame and $1 million. I care about my principles.
Voted out. Ian Rosenberger. He was a 23-year-old dolphin trainer from Pennsylvania. He was born and raised on a horse farm. He was going to Pennsylvania State University, where he was majoring in agricultural extension and educational leadership. Oh, so when he was working as a dolphin trainer, he also did dolphin-assisted therapy for children with disabilities in Florida.
Oh.
Which is really cool.
Very cool.
He also had worked as a wedding disc jockey and a street performer. So
makes sense.
What a history. At the time, so we had mentioned that we thought he was married because he was wearing a ring. He was not married.
Yes.
He was single. I don't know what the ring was. So then after Palau. So in 2010, in the wake of the Haiti earthquake, he founded Team Tassie, which he describes it as an organization that unlocks the inherent power in every person to end global poverty. He also founded a company called Thread, which takes trash from kind of underserved neighborhoods and turns it into jobs. I think they turn it into fabric.
Oh, wow.
And recycle that and can sell it. And so it's kind of like a self-sustaining kind of recycling organization. He got married in April 2016. He has a daughter. There are rumors that he was in consideration for a returnee season coming up. He also was offered a chance to return for another returnee season much farther down the line. But we don't see Ian back on Survivor again. But there is a Talking with T-Bird with him, so you can go listen to that and hear what he's been up to.
Yeah, he's a great man. He was a great boy. He sounds exactly the same now, except he's just like, I was very sensitive. Like, that's it. He's still the same guy. He's just like, I probably wouldn't be as, I probably would have dealt with things differently, but I don't regret my decision. He's very chill.
Yeah.
He's a good boy.
Yeah.
Ian's a good boy. So morning at Karor, it's Tom and Cade. They kind of talk about their last couple dates. They're the last two people. And one of the weird things they do is that Tom is like, we're burning the picnic table. Yeah. This picnic table won't be feeding any other family, any other gathering. It fed this tribe, this family. It's just very funny.
Yeah, I thought that was really weird.
Yeah, it's just so weird. And we have Cade say, I hope someone appreciates my game. And I want to say, Cade, I appreciate your game to a certain extent. Yeah. You did your best. But that's all you're going to get.
Yeah. The only appreciation you can get is really from yourself.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's really the most important. So.
Ian doesn't get a goodbye speech.
It's true. Mm-hmm. I mean, honestly, when we see him going off in the rowboat or whatever, his eyes are like,
I know.
He seemed like he might need some R&R before he's interviewed again.
Absolutely.
To be honest. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. After standing on that buoy for 11 and a half hours.
Yeah.
Nuts.
Yes.
So we go to Final Council, and the opening statements are, judge me on who I was. I played hard. I tried to provide, did my work, and never had a nasty word for any of you. And I tried to keep it light, man.
That's how I would describe Tom.
Yep.
Keeping it light.
Keeping it light. Yeah, I mean, totally. He is just like the jokester of the group.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Cade basically opening statement was like, I'm not Tom.
Yeah.
But I'm here.
So check that out, huh?
Kobe's first, and I just love his opening line, which is, this is going to be serious. I have issues.
Also, beep, beep, beep fashion moment for Kobe's spray paint Six Flags t-shirt.
Yep, that's right.
It's a look.
It is a look. I love that look, actually.
Airbrush. That's what it's called, not spray paint.
I love that look.
Yeah.
And he basically is just like, Cade, if I vote for you, it's not for you. It's against Tom. And then he's like, Tom, tell the truth. I'm listening. Greg gets up there, and Greg is like, I saved you at 7. Why should I give you my vote to Tom? Tom is like, I listened to Ian, I'm so sorry. You should have been my son this whole time, not Ian.
I chose the wrong boy.
I chose the wrong boy, and I want you to know it.
He's doing freaking There Will Be Blood shit with Daniel Day-Lewis telling the boy that he wasn't his baby and he was just a bastard in a basket at the end.
Yes.
That's what he's doing to Ian.
Yes. That is what he's doing to Ian. Then he's really mean to Cade. He's like, you are worthless around camp and insignificant in challenges. You are mean to everyone. How is being so pathetic part of your plan? And Cade this really ruins her whole tribal council. She is shocked. But I will say she answers better than I would, which would just be a whole bunch of tears.
Yeah, she holds her own.
She says, I'm sorry you feel like I'm pathetic, and I'm sorry you have to go there, because I would never say anything like that about you. Because you're not, and I'm not either. I played with the cards I had. I don't have the athletic card. And I like that.
Yeah.
I think that's really, really good. That's a really good answer.
Yeah, I was going to say, I really liked her answer. I mean, and it was hard because you can tell it was it really kind of what her game plan was. It kind of, or as far as how she was approaching tribal council and how she wanted to answer and just really own her game. which I really admire. Like we always say, like that's
Yes.
the way you gotta go. Like there's no point in bullshitting.
Yes.
And she was doing that wonderfully, I thought. Or that's what she wanted to do. And then I think Greg being like, you were pathetic and embarrassing was just like, one, I liked Greg, and that was really like,
It was a blow.
Out of line, like out of left field. Not
Yeah.
out of line, I guess, but like it was just like out of left
He
field.
apologizes on the reunion and like
Yes,
remains in my
yes.
heart. But yeah.
Yeah, but it really did feel like it pulled the rug out
Yeah.
under her feet, kind of how she thought she was establishing herself.
Totally.
So even with that happening, the answer she gave, I thought was, fantastic.
I think this explains why she might brush off people later in the tribal council, because I think she's at capacity with insults as well.
Oh yeah, I think she filled up really early.
Filled up really early, yeah.
I mean, the structure of most people's questions or comments are essentially, Tom, what was the hottest part about being
Yeah.
the best dude on the tribe? And then Katie, it's like, and my question for Katie is, who do you think you are?
Yes!
Yes.
Yes!
Yes.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. No,
Stephanie gets the Julie Berry sad music where it's like owls, ghosts playing the drums, where it's like, oh, boop, boop, boop. I can't do it. But when you hear it again, it's ghost owls playing the drums. Yeah. And she was like, Tom, you said you'd fight for me. What did you do to fight for me? I went as far as I could, but it came down to my 5%. Whatever, it's boring. Yeah. And she's like, why? Then to Katie, she's like, why shouldn't I vote for Tom? Yeah, poor Katie. Katie just says that Tom wanted Steph out, and Tom's like, no, I didn't. That's it.
something that like Jeff mentions in the reunion, but is like helpful to keep in mind with the tribal council is just like Tom's really good at like answering without really saying anything.
Wait till we get to Karen's question.
Oh yeah.
For Janu, she's like, Tom, how hard was it on your integrity to be here today? And he's like, not hard at all. I'm always have integrity. And then she's like, Katie, if you could please give me positive and negative adjectives to best describe you in this game. And Katie's like, honestly, Janu, I don't expect your vote, so I don't really have to do that.
This is the roller coaster of Katie, where it's like I had so much sympathy for her, and then this comes,
It's
and I'm
so
like,
funny.
oh.
It is so funny. And Janu says in the reunion, when Jeff is like, had you made up your mind? Probably not, right? And Janu's like, no, I had.
He's like, oh, I was never voting for
Katie. And I love that. At least Katie like knew the truth of the situation. Yeah. And she's like, I'm not going to describe. And honestly, for Katie, why would she describe negative qualities about herself to a person who she's never going to get the vote? All she's doing is just giving herself negative adjectives for the jury. So Karen comes up and she's like, Tom, are we even friends? And Tom's like, I'm not even going to answer that question. If we were friends, I'll let you figure it out in your own heart. And Karen goes, fair enough. Look into your heart. See if my face is there being your friend.
Oh my god. It's such bullshit.
Wild. And then she calls out Katie for being phony and cruel to everyone besides Tom and Ian. And she's like, I'm sorry if you think I'm unkind. I'm not unkind. But whatever you want to say about me personally, that's on you. Also, you didn't make an alliance, and that is why you're sitting over there.
She does make a fair point. Talk about fair points.
Yeah.
Didn't make an alliance.
Jen calls out Tom for being a chauvinist.
Yeah, Jen.
Coming,
When she talks, she sends missiles.
she is coming out strong. The show didn't do her justice. And he's like, my respect for your game, I admit it came late. But when you told me about Ian, I respected you. You hid your game. I couldn't see it.
That's how you played. That was you playing
this
the whole
is the
time.
usual suspects for
Wasn't
me,
it?
the end.
Jen is Kaiser.
You're the Kaiser Sose the whole time. I didn't even see.
Maybe that's why the editors don't show Jen's game, because they wanted us in the same spot as Tom.
I didn't even see you limp. Okay. And then she says to Katie, you had the opportunity to play this game like a strong woman, and you went to the end with 2 men. And Katie says, preserving myself and my alliance was the strong woman move. I don't need to prove it. I believe it. I feel good about my game. Which is a good answer. And then Ian comes, oh shit. And he's like, answer as honestly as you can. Why shouldn't we give you $1 million? And Katie says, because of my personality or my sense of humor. If that's how you're judging me, then don't vote for me. And Tom says, the best answer of all time. Like, ridiculous, like, annoying.
Yeah.
Honestly, if I was in the jury, I would be giving him the middle fingers after I heard this. Don't give it to me because maybe I've already had my payday. And then he rattles on about how much he loves Survivor. I got to be a adventure boy with my boys.
Yeah, he says having a little boy's adventure.
I know.
And Sarge is like, are we going back to Boys Town?
Oh my God. Sarge wishes he was here with Tom so much.
Oh, they would have been a duo for the ages.
Oh my God. It would, man. Tom would have, all the men for Vanuatu and Tom would have.
Could you imagine? Oh,
I can't. So, the closing statements. Tom is like, good or bad, my name is Tom. And Katie says, give me a chance. You might not respect my game, but I got me here. I'm leaving with my self-respect, and I may not be leaving with yours.
Damn.
The vote. Janu votes for Tom because he chose her to be on Karor, and that was an amazing experience.
It's insane that the act of choosing people meant so much to so many people in the game. I think that Ibrahim at one point mentions that for somebody who he didn't vote off.
He's like, oh, she chose me to be part of the tribe. Yeah, Jonathan and Wanda really haunted these people.
Yeah.
Kobe votes for Katie. I asked for honesty tonight and I got it, but it wasn't from you, Tom.
That Kobe speech was exactly what I wanted to hear in that episode in order to go forward. Like, I needed somebody to just, and that he was the first person up there to say something, just like, Tom, you're not better than Ian. You're the same.
Yep.
You're playing the game. You're lying.
100%.
You're not better.
Kobe is the only one who had Tom's number from Jump Street, and he still has Tom's number. And that number is 108 truck.
that number is 911 because there's a fire.
911.
Oh.
Because it's a huge fire.
Because it's a huge... Yeah, it was.
Okay.
Never forget.
Ian takes a long time to vote, but we don't see who he votes for. And I asked the question, how will Jeff get the votes to America? Oh, he just comes right into the back of the theater with them. We don't even...
They've been in there the whole time.
Oh, my gosh.
They haven't.
No, they haven't.
Disappointing.
I wanted to see him jet ski across the Atlantic.
I know.
Do
I
they
wanted
know
him
their
to take one of those raft things that they had to do the challenge.
Totally.
That would have been impressive.
That would have been good, Jeff.
Yeah.
Hot air balloon. Haven't seen that, Jeff.
Nice.
And they go to New York City. And Jeff calls the crowd enthusiastic. And Tom wins 6-1. Katie knows she's lost. It's not surprising to her at all. And we get a bunch of firemen screaming, Tommy, Tommy, Tommy. And Tom wins, and it's New York City. And thank God.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I'll do like a quick little rundown for Katie and Tom. We've spent so much time with them. But anyways, Katie was, at the time, 29-year-old ad exec from California. She went to college in New Jersey, and we learned, you learn on Talking with T-Bird, I think she said it there, she went to the same college as Stephanie LaGrossa, and they had, like, one of their roommates was their friend, so they were connected somehow via their college. She said at the time she was most proud of traveling across country with nothing but a gas card, which is a cool thing to do.
Yeah.
And then after Survivor, so she was diagnosed with viral cardiomyopathy, which is a congestive heart failure resulting from an infection she did get while in Palau. And the odds were really not in her favor, so it's amazing that she survived that. She now works as a producer for reality TV shows. She talks all about that on Talking with T-Bird as well. And then she did say that she had applied for Africa and she made it to the semifinals. But wasn't chosen. And she said she was glad she was not on that season because she wouldn't have really done very well in the harsh setting of Kenya.
She wouldn't have done very well in that harsh setting of Man Village. You know what I mean?
That's true. That's true. Yeah. I wonder if she was like the Kelly Goldsmith.
She was. Yeah, I'm sure she was.
Yeah. That makes
Lex would have been like, Katie is brilliant.
No. Get out. Yeah. And she also does one of the EW quarantine questionnaires. And not too much. I mean, definitely just worth reading if you like her. But she did say that on their like first day when Cavor arrived at the new camp after they lost the Flint in the water, she said that Willard had a seizure on the beach. And she was like, no one knows if it was a real seizure or if he faked it to get water from the producers. But the producers gave him water, and Willard had already faked enough to get on Survivor, so who knows? In the second challenge with the rope swings, she does the rope, but she said she basically got rope burns all over her hands to the point where she lost most of the skin of that top layer. She thinks that's where the infection that she got really sick from was. She said there were like bugs laying eggs in the wounds on her hands. But basically she could not go in the water without it like really just like causing immense pain, which is why she didn't do any of the challenges that were in the water.
Yeah, she's actually a really good swimmer.
Yeah. And so that was sort of her like, you know, I am not just like horrible athletic at everything. I'm a really good swimmer, except I couldn't really do most of them because I had burned off my hands really early. Something I thought was like kind of sweet, I guess, was after the final tribal at the Ponderosa, she said that her, Tom, and Ian all slept on the floor next to each other that night instead of like their own beds.
Aww.
Yeah. So they fucked each other up a lot, but they still had that connection, and it sounds like they still do. So that is Cade. She's fantastic. I would get a kick out of seeing Cade on Survivor again.
I don't think she can now that she works in reality TV, though.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. She can't. But I mean, it would still be fantastic to see her. And then, winner was Tom Westman. He was a 40-year-old firefighter from Long Island. He was born in Queens. He had a school record for pole vault when he was in high school. He started college, and he did 3 out of the 4 years, and then he left school to become a firefighter like his dad. But while he was in Survivor at that time, he was actually finishing up and earning his degree after like 20 years. He was doing a lot of work with hearing impaired in the deaf community because his daughter, who lost her hearing to meningitis when she was 18 months old.
Oh, wow.
And so he does a lot of work with that. He was inducted into the Survivor Hall of Fame in 2011 with 2 players we haven't met yet. We'll get to see him again.
Boy, will we.
We will get to see him again. Yeah, that's Tom.
How old is he?
40 here.
Now? Yeah.
Okay, that's insane.
Yeah.
He's 40 years old.
Yeah.
He looks so much older.
Right, he let his hair go gray.
Yeah.
To be inconspicuous on the show, I'm sure.
Wow.
Irish people lose, their hair goes white or gray like in their 20s. Ask me. You know what I mean? Both my parents, well, actually, not my dad, but my mom, she went totally gray by 25.
Oh, no way.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa.
Yeah, but she does it. Sorry, Mom. Jig is up.
Wow.
The truth is
Hope you
out.
didn't
No
listen
more
to this,
lying.
Mom. Tom is a winner to me. He's fine. He's good. I get it. He played a dominant game. I feel like he also played with a lot of people who just did not have the same emotional strength that he did, which is lucky. I mean, I think that he is, I bet he's really charming. I think that he probably convinced me to be his little Karen. I wish it wasn't true, but it might be true. Yeah, I don't think he's as great as people say, and I don't think he's as overrated as people say. He's just right in the middle.
Yeah, and it's he's not really the type of winner that I just tend to get excited about, but I'm not going to be it's crazy that he made it to the end. And so the fact that he did.
It's the first,
he was
the first alpha man who won challenges ever.
Yeah, I guess one of them had to do it, you know? And,
another one doesn't. Is this a spoiler? For a little bit.
It's bound to come up. And then something that gets mentioned at the reunion, but I think is it helped me kind of click into place. Tom is really only vulnerable for 3 tribal councils or something like that.
Uh-huh.
At first I was it is really impressive that he wasn't able, he never gets any votes. And I was that's so cool. But again, there's only 3 tribal councils where he could have gotten a vote. But it is kind of crazy that he never really got a vote even at those 3 because it was so obvious.
Right.
Seemingly to everyone.
But that's true. He only had to survive 3 tribal councils. That has to count for something. The reunion. This is a pretty good reunion. They talk to everybody. They get to everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody seems really sweet. There's a great moment where Jonathan's like, I got kicked off because I jumped off the boat. Angie's like, actually, it was because you were a dick.
I know. I appreciated that a lot.
That was really strange where Angie's like, actually, if we go back through the conversations there, you talk to this person, and it was really curt. And Jeff is just like, we can't talk about this right now.
Yeah. He's like, we don't need to get into it.
I was glad that there wasn't as much, or there wasn't crazy audience screaming or anything against Katie.
Yeah.
I was listening to your
All-Stars
episode about All-Stars, and I was like, thank God the audience wasn't like that.
No. I don't think they rectified that situation.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't boo Katie or anything like that. They had that moment which you talked about before where Jeff is like screaming at Katie for giving up Janu's vote. And then he's like, Janu, would you have voted for Katie? And Janu's like, never.
Yeah, that's right.
There's also a moment where Jeff like tries to make sure everybody knows that he didn't force Janu to quit. He's like,
Oh yeah.
he's just like, Janu, did I force you to quit? And Janu's like, you did not. And he's like, I'll sniff it out if you want to quit. Yeah, I'll sniff it out of you. But does anyone here think I forced Janu to quit? And Kobe raises his hand and he goes, I didn't think so.
That was a weird moment. I rewound that because I was like, wait, did Kobe raise his hand? And he said something like, it's like, okay, who thinks so? Who was there? And I think Kobe could potentially have raised his hand on who was there. And
Okay.
there was definitely a moment where he raised his hand and kind of like looked around at everybody else and then slowly brought it back down.
Oh man, it's such a good Jeff moment. Jeff loves to like survey the crowd and be like, everyone agrees, right? Okay then.
Yeah. That's the only way he can get information and feedback. I thought the reunion, it was like we got a lot of Kobe in the reunion.
Yeah, it made it seem
Like they talk about Kobe in the reunion like he's like, and I agree, like after watching the season, he's one of the big characters. Why did, like,
everybody's favorite hairdresser.
hairdresser. Yeah. Yeah, we get a lot of James and Kobe stuff, so we can just underline that a few more times.
Oh, that was awkward too when Jeff was like, I
Yeah.
bet after you got beat by a homosexual, you went into work and everybody was like, hey, James. And James like, actually, I'm unemployed.
Which was maybe the only way to answer that question anyways.
Of course, James doesn't have a job to be made fun of at.
I mean, the picture of his life that just brings together those moments where he's like, well, actually, I'm unemployed and I was trying to connect with my children.
I finally cooked hot dogs with my sons. Like, it's just, I finally appreciate my wife.
Yeah.
Come on. You ain't lying. Other part of the reunion I thought was funny was Jeff kind of gets on Jeff/Brad. I still call him Brad all the time.
yeah,
He really looks
yeah.
like a Brad to me. He's just like, you could have stayed. You quit. You're a quitter. And then Jeff is like, yeah, I know. Everybody I see calls me Coconut Boy. And I'm like, Jeff, I don't believe anyone says shit to you.
I wouldn't remember his face if he stood in front of me for the rest of my life.
Yeah. Okay, Jeff. Coconut Boy, it's not even good. Call you Ankle Boy.
No.
That's a way better insult. No, just kidding.
Yeah, I forgot that
Ankle boy.
a coconut was the cause of this.
No kidding.
yeah.
It's so bizarre.
He's just so boring.
Oh, I could die of boredom.
Yeah.
Thank God.
What I also don't get is when Jeff is calling him out, he's like, you could cut coconuts.
Yeah, I know.
You could put things on
There
the
was
fire.
a great scene
Why didn't
between
you stand-
Angie and Bobby John where they saw you cutting coconuts.
And that's all this show is. That's what they were doing apparently.
You just gotta cut coconuts and that's it.
It's stupid because this was also one of the most like physically demanding seasons challenge wise. Like Jeff wouldn't have been able to do those.
No.
So
No.
I'm glad he wasn't on our TV.
Yeah.
I'm glad we got rid of that.
couldn't
you
care
know?
less if Jeff was there. I think honestly, Probst was like, if you were here, maybe my girl Stephanie could have stayed longer. I think that's what it is.
Oh, wait, I have a big question. So in this episode, in this reunion, they're building up Stephanie.
Oh, yeah.
They're like, hey, we got the most popular Survivor player who's come around in a long time. We got Stephanie.
A
coming
woman
in
who's
right
popular for once.
Yeah. It's a revelation.
How do they know that she's popular? It's before social media. Like, how do they know that people like her?
That's a good question. It's like after Facebook, but I don't think there was like probably things happening on there yet. I mean, the internet, like message boards and like people writing blog posts and then people commenting on them.
I would also think like it was a time, I mean, obviously that stuff still exists now, but it was a time more of like morning talk show TV. And I could almost see the Stephanie storyline being almost like maybe Good Morning America was talking about it like they talked about Borneo.
Yeah.
Like that would be my thought. Maybe it's more on like shows that like kind of like mom and kids have on, you know, like that kind of vibe. And then Jeff always loves when people come up to talk to him on the street. And people
constantly.
like, and whether that's been happening or he just imagines it, I think this is the type of shit he dreams of, where it's like my daughter and my daughter's friends all are obsessed with Stephanie and she's their favorite Spice Girl, and
right?
Like that kind of stuff.
Also,
like I think that's the vibe he's getting.
Maybe she's not popular. Maybe Stephanie just comes in and she's like, people want to be me. People come up to me on the street and they want to be me. She goes, I have a lot of people literally calling me a hero. Stephanie also lets us know she has a hard time losing. What?
Wow. She keeps revealing more and more and more of herself.
What a juicy reunion.
She gives so much.
Yeah. And also, Cade, full disclosure, she comes back very soon. So they might be building her up. I mean, she was very popular. She's very popular.
Oh, yeah.
But also, they might be building her up for another reason. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I did read that.
We also have Bobby John talks about the jellyfish again, and he's like, it was peace. I found peace. And he's perfect. I love him.
He says he's going to keep it like in the Rolodex of his mind.
Oh, gorgeous.
Just a poet, yeah.
We also have a conversation where Jeff and Ibrahim are talking about race, but they won't mention race. Where Jeff is like, after Yolanda got cut out, Ibrahim, you changed your whole strategy. You said you weren't going to be strong anymore. And Ibrahim was like, I actually meant strong personality. And they both mean black, is what they like. Ibrahim was like, I'm not going to make any, you know, and it's very frustrating. Yeah. Jen and Greg and Kim and Jeff, all just friends. Kobe adopted his cousin's kid, named it Janu.
And it seemed like this was when Janu found out. She was crying pretty hardcore. It felt real.
It did feel real.
Not that I thought it was fake, but I honestly assumed she already knew.
Right.
But
You'd think that he would.
not.
No, I guess it was a grand reveal.
We did get Wanda singing again. We finally got to see her sing. You know.
Yes.
Oh, Survivor or whatever.
Survivor. We are survivors. Dun, 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 dun. Yes. And she's super cute. Wanda's super cute. All right, guys. Should we cast this thing?
Oh, yeah.
All right. Oh, boy. I hope you guys brought it today because I'm afraid I did not. We'll see.
I made choices.
Yes.
Yeah, I made choices. I had like a mindset going into this.
Okay. Is it based on what you've been watching recently?
No, it's not based on Call the Midwife. It's not a combination of Call the Midwife and the X-Files, so don't worry.
Well, that's funny because RuPaul was almost my answer for every single person.
Like, you know, it would be good, Alaska.
Yeah.
That could be fun to do, like a drag race.
Totally.
Survivor. Maybe we'll do that at some point. Okay. So yeah, let's start off with our, Jonathan Libby.
Okay, mine is out of left field. I mean, you could almost say this guy isn't an actor, who I'm going to say. But when I saw Jonathan at the reunion, no shade, but he looked a little fuller and he had this like spiky blonde hair. And I was trying to think of a man with spiky blonde hair that was a little bit fuller. And I thought of Guy Fieri.
Yeah.
No way.
And I thought Guy Fieri would be a good person to kick off before the show came on.
I also like the idea of having Guy Fieri play Jonathan, because it's not like we get anything out of Jonathan anyways.
No.
And so
It would just be
could
visual.
Guy Fieri talking about Flavor Town the entire time. Just like in a wet flame colored shirt. You know?
Like in the movie adaptation of this series, like 20 years from now, right? They just make him Guy Fieri. They
wasn't
overwrite
even
his
Jonathan.
character. It's not even
Yeah.
Jonathan. It's just Guy
Fieri
Fieri.
came to play Survivor and lost.
Yeah. You didn't even get chosen.
Didn't even get chosen. So yeah,
what a choice.
Thank you. It's a risk, but I went risky for these.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a visual gag already with Jonathan, you know?
I mean, honestly, with a lot of these people, you have to almost choose above their station.
Totally.
Personality-wise.
Totally.
Yes.
Totally. There's no one as dull as Oolong in the movie business.
Yes. Okay, do you want to go next?
Sure. So going along with that, I chose somebody who I would see in movies early on before he became more well known, and they just kind of felt a little bit like wallpaper. And I also think he could play the sort of shocked, like, oh, I guess I'm gone thing pretty well. A young Joel Edgerton.
Okay, gotta look him up.
That's where I'm going with that. He was,
I think I know. Yes. He was in Great Gatsby, I think.
yeah, he was the bad boy in Great Gatsby.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Yeah, he's got like that
see
pinched
it.
face like him too.
Yeah.
Yeah, he can be kind of beefy. He can bring
He
the
does-
beef
he
with
does bring
with
the
Jonathan.
BTB, he brings the beef for sure.
Yeah.
He is a strong BTB. It's a beefcake season, and he is beefy.
Yeah. Gotta cast the beef.
Where's the beef? Is what people say when they come to my house.
Wow. Yeah. So my mindset kind of, and unfortunately I couldn't get like everything to really make sense with this, but I was approaching it kind of like, because this season was just so emotionally dramatic in a way that I actually don't know that it could be captured on film in a way that would feel as like sincere and real and effective, and also that Oolong was just really boring. So the middle place for me was melodrama.
Got it.
And so in my head, I kind of went for people and comedians that I thought could do like a melodramatic piece.
Love it.
So for Jonathan, I went with Tim Heidecker.
Oh,
Particularly if I wanted to be specific as his character Decker, which is like an 80s TV, like it's just it's like it's so stupid. But like literally all it would have to be is Tim Heidecker making a stupid face at the camera and be like, that's Jonathan.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Do you remember Tim Heidecker in Bridesmaids? It's the same role. It's just you see him for a second
in Bridesmaids.
He's wallpaper in the season,
Okay,
right?
yeah.
He's wallpaper in the.
Yeah.
He has very little impact. He makes like a weird face maybe, and then he's gone. And yeah.
I mean, I like Tim Heidecker.
I do too.
I think he's perfect. And yeah, he's the husband that she marries, but we don't see him that much in Bridesmaids, right?
Great move. Great move.
Oh, okay.
And that's and in Survivor, he's the Jonathan who we don't see that much, you know?
Yeah, I just figured he'd come in, he would make the most of a short little thing.
Love it. Beautiful.
All right, so
Guy
now we're on
Fieri,
to-
until next time.
We'll find a place.
We'll find a place
We
for
will
you,
find a
Guy.
place for Guy.
Wanda.
I'm proud.
Yeah, I
Oh, I'm sorry.
No?
Cade,
You
you've
go
got
first.
you feel good? Do you feel good?
No, I feel really
think
good
you should-
about
You
it.
Okay.
should go first.
This is a bit of stunt casting.
Fair.
unlike Guy Fieri.
It's a little bit like Guy Fieri, but this also, it's like one day at work. It's a cameo appearance, essentially. Meryl Streep.
I love it. She also will take any
Think-
opportunity to sing Mamma Mia.
Yes. Yeah.
Think Mamma Mia crossed with Julie and Julia. And I think there you have.
I mean, that's the perfect
We
movie.
haven't cast Meryl yet, I don't think.
We always talk about
We
her.
always
like,
talk
she does
about
come
it.
up.
Yeah.
But we're very picky about how we want to use Meryl.
Wanda is not a bad pick for Meryl.
Not at all.
Not at all. And also, it's so small that we could reprise her in another role later.
That's true.
It's a cameo.
It's a cameo
it,
appearance.
I love that.
Okay, Wanda was my Holly Hunter.
That's who I had too.
Shut up!
Oh.
Yeah, and I was thinking either we keep it small, like it can just be like Wanda in the beginning, or we kind of like restructure it and she's almost our narrator.
Yeah, I was thinking a chorus. She's a singing chorus.
Yeah, that's what I wrote. Yeah, I wrote it's fuck the narrative. She could be like the Greek chorus.
Yes. I love it.
It's obviously Holly Hunter. That's
Well-
incredible. That's incredible.
I mean, We got to go for it. Meryl
Yeah.
Streep is good.
We will find a spot
will
for Meryl
find-
someday.
Someday. It'll be a big day on the podcast. We'll celebrate. Jolanda.
I'll go first.
Okay.
So I went with, I mean, I don't know if this is like the obvious one, but it was like very obvious to me that she was Angela Bassett.
So it was so obvious it was Angela Bassett that I went up to Kate and I was like, who should play Joe? And she's like, Angela Bassett. I'm like, I'm trying to pick someone other than Angela.
Someone else.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know. I was like, is it, but I went with
And
Angela.
then Kate was like, well, who was the mother from the Thanksgiving episode from Master of None? And I'm like, that was Angela Bassett.
She just says every single Angela Bassett role.
Exactly. Who was Stella Grubeck? I had Janelle Monáe. 'Cause she's tiny.
Yeah.
That's my only issue with it. But she's strong, and I thought that would be cool.
Yeah.
That was me,
Janelle.
but that's me trying not to say Angela Bassett.
I did the same. And it's like the charisma.
Yeah.
Like they're both very charismatic.
Yeah.
Yes. And like strong, and like I like her a lot.
Authoritative.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah. And it's also like, I mean, she was the quote unquote older woman.
Yes.
And Angela Bassett is like a gorgeous older woman.
Yep, she is.
It's just like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was hard to deviate from what felt so
It feels right.
obvious.
Yeah.
So if other people have other ideas, please let us know. We don't mean to be like, it must be Angela. But yeah, I feel like it's Angela.
Yeah, I do. I mean, that's what's in all of our
All
hearts.
right.
You have to. I don't know why we're
Alrighty.
not more excited about it. We're just like, it has to be.
Sometimes it feels like we need to be really creative when it can just be the one that feels like
The
just
do the obvious thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We don't need to be, rewrite the wheel. That's not the expression.
Well, talk about rewriting the wheel. Who did we choose for Ashley? Ashby.
So important. I'll go first. I chose Lacey Chabert, who was in Mean Girls and Party of Five.
Yes.
She's just like reminds me. She looks religious to me, and has a big rack, and that is what I know about Ashley Ashby.
Yep, that's a great. I like that a lot.
What about you, Cade?
So think very early before the glamour era. Think Ghost World era Scarlett Johansson.
Oh.
So very, very early on before the
Yep.
before
Yep,
all
yep,
the
yep, yep,
glamour
yep.
comes in. And what sticks with me is Ashley just being
Yep.
sick, and the sick face, and just like head down. I can see Scarlett Johansson playing that in that period of her life. And it just like a sort of side character.
Yeah.
I'd love to stick it to Scarlett with this role too. You know what I mean?
Take her down a notch.
Scarlett, come in for a reading. Yeah, you're gonna have to read for it.
Oh man. So mine, this is one where I definitely went with like the melodrama and sort of casting, and basically I thought either we could really just create basically a whole new character and have Rachel Bloom play her, or we could go Mormon with like a young Marie Osmond.
So you went with Rap
Interesting.
with Rachel Bloom and
Yeah.
then Mormon with Marie Osmond.
Yeah, I couldn't get both, which is why I like both Scarlett and Lacey.
I think I'm gonna go with Scarlett because I like that.
Yeah.
I like the idea of sticking it to
making
her.
her read for Ashley.
I didn't know I felt this way about Scarlett, but I think I need to take her down a notch. Apparently.
Scarlett, you've done so well with the Black Widow. How about another strong female role for you?
No, exactly. You don't have much, but I know you can do a lot with it, Scarlett.
Oh yeah. Okay. Guys, it's another big one. Jeff Wilson.
I did Channing Tatum for Jeff Wilson, which might be a bit too much charisma, but playing the hollowness of the personality, that's rude to say.
No.
I don't mean that.
He doesn't have a personality that reads on television.
Yes.
Yeah.
He could
I've
be
yet
in
to
person.
yeah.
Maybe he's different. We don't know him, but did not translate.
Channing Tatum was on my short
Yeah,
list for him as well.
Yeah, I don't mean that. No offense to
Oh,
Jeff.
don't worry about it.
Just I'm trying to
Cade,
figure
you're
out the
so
correct
sweet.
word I
We're
can.
monsters. So
Yeah.
you won't take the hit. We're your shields.
Yeah, please. Okay, so I'll go next for Jeff. I went with Taron Killam.
Yep. Well,
Just 'cause
that's so funny because I feel like Darren Killam is a little he has like, even no matter how strong he is, he's a little doughy. You know what I mean? Always a little bit.
Yeah, and Jeff was like a bod boy.
Yeah, he was a beefy cake.
Yeah, honestly, I just was trying to give him a personality.
No, I appreciate that, and I think it's a good. I think.
And I liked the idea. I felt like Taron could really be like very campy
Listen.
and over the top with the coconut.
Oh yeah,
You know?
he would be really good.
He would be coconut boy, you know?
He would be coconut boy. You're absolutely right. I have Ian Zerling, who is Steve from 90210.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about in his 90210 stage.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that's just like a blonde beefcake. And I feel like he's cheesy in the same way Jeff is.
I like Ian a lot.
Let's do that.
All right.
Get some Zerling up in
Steve,
here.
you're back in to Hollywood. And guess what? You have more screen time than Scarlett Johansson.
Oh my god. All right. So who's playing opposite Ian? And we have Kim Mullen.
So I'm going to give mine first because hopefully people will forget it by the time you guys go. I'm going to pick, okay, I mean this in not a mean way, but I was thinking Lindsay Lohan, but on her way down, you know what I mean? Like post Mean Girls, like on the other side, like just, you know, when she's a little bit thinner. She plays Kim.
I could see that.
She's blonde.
Yeah, I can see that.
So again, sticking with like the melodrama thing, I went with Judy Greer.
Great.
I just thought she would be really funny as Kim.
Oh my God. Yeah, she really would be. When she's like talking to Bobby John and she's like, why are you doing that?
Yeah, I just think she would be like really good at like oblivious and just like.
Why
dumb
is
and
Jeff
flirty.
talking about our relationship?
Yeah.
Yeah. Great.
I feel like I mostly went by body type and sort of playing up the storyline about not being able to have much physicality at camp or during challenges. And I went with a young Mia Farrow.
Oh.
Wow.
Oh.
Oh, I
And
love the
I
box
think that
you're thinking
maybe
in.
she I think that maybe she could play up some of the more acidic parts of her personality too, even though Mia isn't necessarily known for that.
Yeah, man, that would be fun. I like the idea of Mia Farrow and Ian Zerling. Like,
That is a combo.
that's cute.
That's a very blonde combination.
But I also love Judy Greer for like the comedy purposes. Now I'm hearing Kim's voice as Judy Greer's voice. I'm leaning Judy Greer.
I don't want to like push it too much, but
No.
I felt pretty good about Judy.
You have to push it when you feel
That
good
makes
about
sense.
it.
There's just something about it that works for
You
me.
have to.
So thank you.
Mia Farrow was kind of like, I guess. Is one of those, I guess.
I picked Guy Fieri for Jonathan. You have to swing if you're going to get a home run. You know what I
Yes.
mean? And I think Mia Farrow in it. I mean, there's a place for her for sure.
Oh yeah, we'll find a place.
Yeah, there's seasons where she fits in. Angie.
I can go first because I don't feel too strongly about mine. I went with Maura Wilson.
Yep.
I don't even know if she acts anymore.
No, she.
If you don't know, but like just in case you don't know her name, but she played Matilda, so she was more of like a child
Mrs.
actor.
Doubtfire.
Mrs. Doubtfire. So huge child
Stepmom.
actor in the 90s. But yeah. Oh, so I don't know if she's still acting, but I don't know. I for some reason I thought Maura with Angie.
She's like, I feel like Mara Wilson also is like this indie new girl lives in New York now, which I kind of.
Yes. She has a cool vibe.
Yeah, she definitely does. I went with Daria, the cartoon.
Oh.
Because I feel like someone gets to be it, and it should be Angie.
I agree.
Yeah.
I
I feel like Angie would be a Daria fan.
So I copped this a little bit from Vanuatu because I was listening to your casting there, and somebody mentioned this actress, and then so that was in my mind here. Winona Ryder from her younger period, and I mean goth punk aesthetic, and also what solidified it for me was the moment when Angie has that sort of awkward yell.
Yes.
Which is just like a very raised voice, like, we're not going back to immunity. I'm in tribal. And I can imagine Winona Ryder having that kind of yell.
I love it, Cade. I love Winona Ryder.
I think
That is who we should play. That is who should play Angie for her, because that's perfect.
Yeah,
Yep.
it works on many fronts.
That's good.
Love it.
That's really good.
Okay.
James.
Willard.
Oh, Willard.
Willard.
Excuse me.
How dare you skip
Willard
Willard
erasure per use. Cade, who do you have for Willard?
Harrison Ford.
Ooh, because of the earring?
Just curmudgeon.
Because of the earring.
It's the earring. It was the earring. Because Harrison Ford has the earring. Willard's kind of like a cool old guy. I did not hear about anything related to him afterwards or any biographical information. So I don't know much about him. But he seems like a cool old curmudgeon.
Here's what I know about him. Karen hired a private investigator to find him, and the private investigator came up empty-handed.
Well,
Wait,
that's
is this
amazing.
Yeah.
true?
I picked Frank Langella.
So I wrote down two names
yeah.
for Willard because I wasn't sure and I was going to make a game time decision, but one of them was Frank Langella.
Shut up!
Yeah.
We're getting good, girl. We're getting
Nixon
girl.
here.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
My other one, I think I like Frank more, and that was the first thought I had. My other one was John Malkovich.
Yeah.
But I think we'll find I don't know. Frank feels more right. So, and you said Frank as well.
Two people say it. We got to use it.
Yeah, I gotta do it.
Gotta do it. Gotta be Frank. We gotta use Frank. Now we're back to
Now.
James. You ain't lying. I'll go first because I feel really good about this one. By really good, I mean I'm swinging. Okay. So this actor you may not immediately think of when you think of James. However, he just recently quasi-successfully pulled off a strange accent, so I think he might be able to do it again. I have Daniel Craig. And
if he's just doing the Knives Out.
yeah,
accent all the time.
exactly.
Damn.
Yeah. And I feel like they actually kind of look alike.
I don't. Daniel Craig has a lot of beef.
He does, and James is one of the
tinier ones. Yeah, this might be my homosexuality showing. I'm like, they're both men. No, I'm kidding. I know what a handsome man is. Okay. I know what beef is.
The thing is, Daniel Craig would chew up the scenery as James.
Is that what
James?
That's what James did.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's so over the top.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought Clifton Collins Jr. Are you familiar with him?
Let me.
He was in Capote. I've seen him do a Southern man who has this type of accent. He's kind of scrawny.
No, that's a good pick. He really looks like him and talks like him.
Love a character actor.
Yep.
So I went with Glenn Howerton from It's Always Sunny.
Oh!
Because again, just like melodrama. And I was trying to find actors from the South for James, and while Glenn wasn't born in the South, he was actually born in Japan because his dad was like, not to get into it, but his dad like was in the army or something. But anyways, he moved to Alabama when he was 10 and he like graduated from high school there. So he spent some of his formative years in Alabama, and so I would imagine could bring, his Alabamian experience.
Yes.
And I feel like he would be like a ham. So.
Yes. All three of these are top-notch guys.
This is a big one.
I like Glenn because he's a comedic character inherently, right? And I like that perspective. Whereas Daniel Craig and Clifton Collins might bring a gravitas that could be wrong
too
for
much
the role.
pathos. You know what I mean? We don't need more pathos on Oolong.
Yeah.
We need lightness.
No.
We'll take Glenn.
All right, we got Ibrahim.
Ibrahim.
So it's more of like a vibe that I got. Just because Ibrahim was such this like kind of quiet, he was reserved, kind of gentle but strong kind of character. And so I went with the actor Trevante Rhodes. He's from Moonlight.
Yep.
And so that's the only thing I've seen him in, but I feel like in Moonlight he played this kind of like strong but, you know, very like emotionally deep character. And so I thought it's a different vibe than the other ways I casted, but I thought he could really bring, just because Ibrahim is one of like the more lower key characters, I thought he could play that well.
That's a very thoughtful choice. I like that a lot. I went a lot more like Ibrahim is beautiful. You know who else is beautiful? Tyson Beckford. I went like just straight up beautiful men.
And Ibrahim was a model.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
You know,
exactly.
Who's Tyson Beckford?
He's a model that was like huge in the 90s and early 2000s. He was on a lot of ladies' walls.
Yeah, I was gonna say you couldn't really go into any. You couldn't go into any bedroom without seeing that guy.
You couldn't. And you know what? It was a wonderful time.
What a time to be
You couldn't
alive.
open Cosmo magazine without like a Tyson Beckford
Yeah.
thing. He's very, if you look him up, he's
So no, that was good.
he's a very handsome man.
Yeah.
I went with an actor named Boris Kodjoe. He does a lot of TV. I forget what he's on, like one of those like Chicago 911 shows or something like that. And he's got the model look. He's got the same build, and he's also very soft spoken. And I feel like he has the same vibe that
Yeah, I see it.
that Ibrahim has, like serious, soft spoken. He could play that really well.
I really like that.
Yeah. I also like yours. Caroline's really killing it today. I am not bringing it, but I didn't think I was going to. I didn't feel good about this one. Who knows? Maybe we get to Karor, I'll crush.
Oh yeah, your time will come.
Let's go with Boris.
I feel like that's a good combo of what we were talking
It
about.
is. It's perfect.
Guys, it's Bobby John time.
BJ! I was up last night.
It was hard, right? Again, these young, handsome, attractive people are always the hardest to cast.
I tried to look at every handsome man in Hollywood in the eyes and tried to get the Bobby John moment, and I could not get it. I was just like, look me in the eyes. No. Look me, no. I could not get it. It was just like everybody wasn't special enough. So I had to go back.
Yes.
I had to go back. And I ended up with James Dean.
Oh!
I was like, there is no one as beautiful that I was. So then I just started looking at old actors and I go, you know what? No, Cary Grant, no, Jimmy Stewart, get out of here. I want James Dean to play Bobby John, and I want James Dean to be that like love and jellyfish. Yeah,
I love when we go back in time.
you got to. Sometimes you got to. Sometimes people are too pure for the 2010s.
James Dean is great because he's kind of a character actor too, right? And that's a little bit what you need. You need somebody who's playing a character on top of being that good-looking young man.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like James Dean can play characters who maybe don't have as much going on behind the eyes. If need be, I feel like he could pull that off.
Sure. I mean, I'm trying to think of the 3 films that he did.
A lot of soul, not as much cerebral, more like gut.
Yeah.
So I had, in maybe a similar vein, I had very young Brad Pitt.
I looked at him too. I mean, Brad Pitt is arrestingly pretty, and so is Bobby John.
I also think that he could do the variations in volume that we get with Bobby John really well. Going from, it's like, I'm Bobby John, and this is the way that I'm talking. And then during a challenge, he's just like,
Yes. Very
I love
good.
that. I don't feel super strong about this. I went with Owen Wilson just because I thought he could do the Southern charm and drama,
Caroline.
all that jazz.
No disrespect to Owen Wilson, but Bobby John's face.
Oh yeah, no, I know. I know.
Caroline.
That's why I said I'm like, it's not on looks. It was literally just like,
Caroline,
imagine Owen
once
Wilson in
an
a bad
episode,
wig.
I call you out for choice.
Oh, is this like when I cast Ryan Gosling as Richard Hatch?
Yes.
Oh my God.
I think I couldn't keep a straight face. I was like, that is insane.
I don't, every once in a while I say straight up shit. No, like again, I couldn't do Bobby John, and I was just like, I don't know. Owen Wilson's been in movies, so no, I think I'm leaning towards Brad Pitt.
Yes, Brad Pitt. He's beautiful, and he's tough, and he could do that like crazy man when he's like hulking out. It's beautiful. And since Brad Pitt is not playing Sarge like I wanted him to in Vanuatu, he should play Bobby John.
It's the next best
thing.
That's what gave me the idea. I had that name in my head, so I was like, boom, there we go.
Kobe.
I don't know how tall this person is, and I do kind of feel like Kobe needs a tall person just because he's so statuesque. But I went with Dan Levy. I thought he would be kind of like, I think like his character on Schitt's Creek is like kind of has similar, vibes as Kobe does in Karor. And yeah, but I don't feel super strongly about it, but I feel like he could do a good job.
I think he would do a great job being like bitchy on the sidelines, which is like my favorite Kobe.
I don't know how physical he can be. And so I don't know, I would maybe lose my trust in Dan with like being the challenge beast Kobe side of things. Right. But who knows?
I went with Billy Eichner.
Oh.
Because I feel like Billy Eichner is tall. He's strong. He can get things done. And I also just thought he would be very funny being like, thanks for not inviting me, Tom.
Yes.
I don't want to sit here and get bait by myself, Tom.
I do like the idea of him doing like his Billy on the street shit.
Exactly. Karen!
But in Palau. Name a woman that isn't Stephanie for $1, Jeff.
$1, name a woman that's not Stephanie.
Yeah.
And Jeff is like, for $1. Yeah, it's funny.
I did Billy Eichner as well.
No way! All right, well, it's Billy.
Billy on the street. Billy on the beach.
And part of my justification as well is he has the comedic chops, which you need for Kobe. But let's also give Billy Eichner a chance to do some drama, which I think he could do. I think he could bring the pathos, which you need as well.
I think he has it in him 100%.
Cool.
Janu. I have 2 for Janu. My first one, my gut casting was Isabella Rossellini.
Oh, I mean, I love Isabella.
I love Isabella Rossellini. I feel like Janu is a like image. Oh. I feel like she's also very dramatic. I feel like Isabella would be on the hammock being like, oh. And Tom would be like, you're not strong today, but you'll be strong tomorrow. And she could be like, no, I won't. I just picture that. And then my second, my alternate was Tracy Ellis Ross. I thought she'd be good too.
Who is Tracy Ellis Ross?
She's the mom from Blackish. She's also Diana Ross's daughter. She's like a great comedian. She's really, really good.
Okay.
You chose 2 daughters of like famous women.
That's right. Janu is the daughter of the sea.
She was a daughter of another dancer.
Yes, and she's a dancer.
Yes.
Okay.
It all works.
All right, cool. What about you guys?
I went with Maya Rudolph.
Oh.
Just for the, the melodrama of it all.
Yeah.
And I thought it'd be funny, but she can deliver.
She can deliver.
Went with Maya because I love her.
I love Maya too. She could be in everything.
I would watch a one like if there was a season that I could just have Maya play every single person. Yep. I would do that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I had 2 that are kind of different, I guess. So one, I had an actress named Gina Torres who is in Firefly. Yeah, and I don't know. I was just like, I feel like she could.
Oh my God, she looks just like her.
Hit a bit of the. I think what I'm going by is like sort of this hazy feeling that Janu sort of exudes, sort of this hazy, otherworldly quality, I guess. In another direction, kind of going off of her sort of fragility, I think is the correct word that I'm going for, is Laura Flynn Boyle.
Oh my
Which-
gosh. I haven't heard of Lara Flynn Boyle in so long. David E. Kelly, get on the phone. You'll direct this thing.
But like middle-aged Lara Flynn Boyle, and I could see that a little bit. But I'm not too confident in either, but
Wow.
you honestly got me, Kate, with Isabella Rossellini in the hammock.
I think
crying.
it'd be a funny image. I'm fine with Isabella Rossellini. I also think she would be a great showgirl. Like, can't you picture Isabella Rossellini in showgirl attire?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Isabella.
Also, small tip, Cade Hopkins to the world. Follow Isabella Rossellini on your Instagram. I mean, she's living the life. She's like posing with the chicken. She's like, this is my handsome son. Enjoy it. She like lives on a farm. It's beautiful. She's always has dogs and things happening. It's great. Jersey girl, Stephanie.
Yeah. I went with Cecily Strong.
Great. You went for SNL.
I just think people from like SNL and comedy shit that I thought could be really like hammy, and for the most part, and then I cast a few people like differently, I guess. But like, yeah, I just thought Cecily, she does like, I just think she would play it so.
She would play it so funny, like, because she would be so intense. Yes.
Yeah, like she'd play it completely seriously. I
Yeah, she really would. That's fun. I looked up actresses from New Jersey. And then I looked up intense actresses from New Jersey. And guess who came up? Anne Hathaway.
I didn't know she was from New Jersey.
Who knows? In a Google image search, that's what came up. And I said, you know what? Anne is intense. And you know what? I bet Anne does not like losing. I also think that Anne Hathaway, I feel like it would be fun for her to get really buff. Like, I feel like that's something she would like to do. Like Emily Blunt when she was in that sci-fi movie.
I had... for this one, Alyssa Milano. I had that not necessarily for the intensity, but I feel like that's who Hollywood would maybe cast at a certain time in like the 90s or something like that, because I feel like she would also pull off the star quality element of Steph. I don't know.
Yeah. I'm leaning Cecily Strong. I think because I'm picturing her being intense and like Stephanie, and I'm really liking it.
She has an inherently comedic role.
Yeah, for sure. You can't play Stephanie straight. You can't.
And I think Oolong needs our help.
Yeah.
To be on
GP.
Yeah.
GP. Also, the idea of like Cecily Strong just being alone at camp with James Dean. No, that's not who it is. Brad Pitt. It's Brad Pitt.
It's Brad Pitt. Oh, that's a combo.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Snot rocket.
Snot rocket.
Sweet. All right. Now we're on to more Karor.
Greg. I went with Kit Harington. He's
Okay,
pretty.
yeah.
He has curly hair. That's what I got.
All right. All done.
All done. Pretty curly hair doctors. Google image search. Kit Harington came up.
I did Jamie Dornan.
Yep.
Somebody had mentioned him during Vanuatu, and that got in my head as well. But I can see him with like curly hair wig, and he's trying to game things out.
I went with another It's Always Sunny actor. I went with Rob McElhenney.
Oh, yes. He and Rob.
Again, it's not the same personality as Greg, but I made choices.
No.
So this is where I'm at.
That's a good choice. That is a very good choice. And like, I picture him, he would be like very intense and just being like, you got to stick to the plan. Like, I can get that.
Yes.
I think that's good.
Yep.
I think that's really, really good.
He can get buff, and I think he plays a buff dude who thinks he's really smart as well.
Yep.
Which I think is a great quality.
Absolutely. We got to cast two people from Always Sunny.
Yep.
Guess what? They're not the last ones on my list. I didn't go. I literally looked at 2 lists.
Unbelievable.
Okay. It might be a crutch that I've used this time.
Oh
but
my
who
God.
knows?
And it's
Use
working.
it when you can.
And it's
Use
working.
it when you can.
And it's working.
Yeah. Guys, it's time for Karen.
Oh, all right. Who do you guys got?
So I have Glenn Close as Karen.
Nice.
Oh.
Nice. Yep.
Glenn Close now.
Damages Glenn Close.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yes.
She can be a lawyer.
She certainly can. I love season 1 of Damages.
I haven't actually seen Damages. I just know Glenn's.
It's not worth it now. You know what I mean?
really?
But when it was
That's a
on,
shame.
it was fun.
Yeah, it was good.
Actually, I don't know if
I love Glenn.
You know what? Damages season 1 could be worth it. Don't listen to me, kids. Watch it for yourself. Find out. I went with Carrie Fisher.
Oh.
Interesting.
I thought Carrie Fisher would be really fun as Karen. So, like, I'm talking about
Yeah.
Carrie Fisher old, and I picture her being like, going up to Katie and being like, "Why are you always on me?" Like, I picture her more like her
I love that.
real life personality coming to the role. And I just, I love Carrie Fisher and would like her in more things. She's dead, but if I can resurrect anybody.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We can bring Carrie back. I love that. Yeah, mine, I went with Lorraine Bracco. I think we talked about her at some point in some other context, and I was like, I like her. I also considered having this be a musical at some point and having Karen be Patti LuPone. But then I couldn't.
Patti LuPone. Ooh.
Yeah. But I couldn't think of enough. I don't know enough musical people in order to do
I
the
know,
whole
but
cast as a musical.
you could still-
But I thought, but Patty does stuff that's not
Patti
musical.
LuPone was in not Facts of Life. Life Goes On, I think. Yeah, it's in the show Life
Yeah.
Goes On. She's the mom. It is a melodrama.
So then Patty might work.
I'm Team Patty.
I don't
But
know.
I really like. I don't know.
I like
guys.
Patty.
I like Patty. I'm sorry, Caroline.
No, it's okay. I feel like I'm steamrolling.
Well, we're picking. You're on a roll. Sometimes,
I know.
Believe me.
I do like Patty as Karen.
It's
right?
good.
All right.
All right. And you know what? So, sometimes
It's come to an end. I'll just say that for me.
we don't know. You threw away Patty and we said, pick her back up. Jen.
I went with Meredith Hagner from Search Party. She's the blonde friend of the main 4.
Yeah, she's so funny. I love her. That is a really good pick. Ooh, that's kind of like, I feel like I have the poor man's version of that. I did Alyssa Cuthbert, who I think is just like, she's very, very pretty. She's very funny. She has great comic timing. She's very funny on happy endings. And she's pretty like Jen. So that's why I picked her.
And then this is just my rounding out my trio. I did Kristen Olsen from It's Always Sunny to be Jen, just because I did Robin. I didn't have it.
That is.
I'm done.
You need to.
I didn't have it. I didn't have it.
We cast the first 2. That was outrageous.
I know.
She's very tall.
I flew too close to the sun.
Yep. That's right, Caroline. This is the second time you've done really well, but there's been 2 times where it's been unacceptable. Awesome. I'm going to go with Meredith Hagner.
I feel
She's
strongly
great.
about Meredith.
She's
Yeah,
great. And
I
she
like
looks so
that.
much like her. I want her to
Cool.
get more work. I think she's really funny. And this is
Yeah.
real. So
Yeah,
We're doing
giving
her a
people
favor.
jobs.
I can't wait till she walks by Scarlett Johansson and is like, sorry. I'm in the finale, so.
I mean, I haven't seen Search Party, but I like giving Jen like a real good performer too. Like, so really flesh that
You
out.
should watch Search Party someday.
I know. I should. I know.
Take your time. You call the midwife,
I have so many seasons of Call the Midnight to watch.
Yeah.
Guys, it's Ian time.
Oh, it's Ian time.
Ugh.
Also known as Googling tall actors.
That's yep.
There's some.
Although, do you guys want to hear my my joke cast
Yeah.
for Ian? Airbud.
If we had Ian play a literal golden retriever.
Yeah.
I mean, vice versa. Oh,
Yeah.
that's funny. I like that.
But no.
I like that. What's your real answer, babe?
I didn't feel good about this one. And so the reason I did what I did
Get ready. Better be good.
is Adam Driver in a really bad wig. Because I basically want it to be like, I was thinking of, again, melodrama. I was thinking of the fight on the beach, and then how there's that meme of Marriage Story, which I have not seen. But I was thinking of the Marriage Story meme with the screaming face, and then I was thinking it could be kind of funny to like recreate the meme with this emotional scene on the beach. But I'm not saying we should cast Adam Driver, but that was
Adam Driver is not ridiculous. It's not ridiculous. It's not like Caitlin Olsen as Jen.
I mean, Caitlin Olsen could play Ian.
Yeah, better. That's better.
Honestly, it makes more sense.
It does make more sense. No, I think Adam Driver is good. I think that's good. I went with Jason Segel.
Oh yeah.
I feel like he like has that soft, kind of sweet.
Yeah.
He's tall. I picture him looking up to Tom. You know.
That's perfect. Yeah. I was having such a hard time with this. I did a young Stephen Merchant who co-wrote The Office just because he has the lankiness.
No, that's great too.
He would have to audition. I'm not giving this role sight and scene.
No, he would have to read for this. I mean, Scarlett's reading.
We're making Scarlett.
Scarlett read. Stephen Merchant's reading.
I feel like they could do the confused face very well. They both have that.
My hesitation with Stephen Merchant is that I've never seen him. I feel like he always has like a detached self-awareness that I don't know if Ian has. Like there's something about Stephen Merchant that doesn't seem as warm as Ian, maybe.
No, totally. He'd have to audition.
Yeah.
This is he has to fight for this role.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah.
Jason Segel hit me like
Jason
a ton of bricks.
I think Jason's the way to go.
Wonderful. I felt like that was like it came quickly to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it.
Sometimes you just are really connected.
You don't have to fight it when it makes sense.
You don't have to. And I did fight it. Of course I did. It can't be easy. I have to search. I have to like.
If you're fighting Jolanda's Angela, you know.
Yeah. Katie.
I went with Anna Chlumsky.
Oh.
Who I know as an adult from Veep, but
my girl.
You know, on Veep. My girl when she was a kid, but I thought maybe she could do kind of like sassy taking no shit type of like high pressure situation. I don't know. I thought she
That's good. That's very good. I
Yeah.
didn't cast this person last time, and I'm bringing her back. I thought Kirsten Dunst could do a good Katie. I think Kirsten Dunst can be mean, and I think she can. I think that she could be like, I was embarrassed. I think she could do both of those really great. And I think she could make people feel bad. I feel like she has like a comedy chops. Like I feel like she has all the kind of range that you'd need to play Katie.
I had Kirsten Dunst on my short list for both her and Jen as well, actually. But with Katie, I went with Rachel McAdams circa Mean Girls. The moment for me with that is when Janu asks her the question and she's just like, actually, I feel like I'm not going to answer that.
I don't need to answer that, actually. Yeah. You know what? Because Katie's had a tough tribal council. Let's give her Rachel McAdams.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Making dreams come true.
Now let me ask you the question of the hour. Who plays Daddy? Who plays Daddy?
Oh my god. Guys, I went with what if we got Paul Rudd and just dusted his head up, you know?
I mean, Paul Rudd is older than Tom was in Palau already.
I know. And I was trying to think again, like melodramatic people, and I was just combining in my head the idea of Tom and then the part in Wet Hot American Summer where Paul Rudd is like slamming the shit all around.
Yeah.
And then but like as Tom was what I was thinking basically. That's where I'm at.
This is another one that just came to me. Like, as soon as I started watching Palau, this was, like, very clear to me. I think I've even mentioned it in an earlier episode, but John Slattery.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he looks just like him. He's dark, he's light, he's charming. I couldn't say no to him.
He's a silver fox, and he's not emotive.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I can see him doing that accent, being very stoic. Yeah, I can
He's
see
also,
that.
I mean, we've seen him manipulate on Mad Men. You know he can do it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I did write down, I had John Slattery, and I removed it because, again, I was fighting the obvious.
So mine is a swing. What we're going to do is we're going to totally reimagine the character.
Cool.
I love it. I love
Totally reimagine the character. And he's actually going to be from Boston instead of New York. And he's going to be played by Stillwater era Matt Damon.
Stillwater?
He's
What's
in that movie. It's his most recent movie, I think.
Oh, okay.
Stillwater.
Okay.
He has I think he has a mustache.
And not Matt Damon 2020.
Right now.
Stillwater era. I like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to fight for John Slattery. I want him to play him, but
Yeah.
I mean, does he have the chops to pull off this leading role? I mean, as we said, Scarlett has this bit part. Would Matt Damon be someone who comes in with more confidence? Matt Damon also, I believe, he almost was cast in our Black Box stage production where he was going to play.
We did get rid of him when we made it an all women's.
Yes, exactly. But he was
production.
very close. I don't believe he's been cast recently. I mean,
I still think it's John's turn.
I think it has to be John Slattery.
I've wanted him to have a leading role for a while. I think he could crush it. I think he could crush it.
And John Slattery, he played a daddy of Iron Man. He was Iron Man's daddy, and
he was the
there
dad.
was a lot of tension between them, and the son wanted the daddy to love him.
I feel like his whole career has been leading to this.
Oh my God, it has. Let's do it. Let's lock it in. Guys, that was Palau.
Yeah.
We did it. Cade, thank you so much for joining us. It was a true pleasure to have you as a guest.
Thank you for having me. I'm sorry if I made this too long.
No, darling, you didn't make it long.
I was going to say, just so you know, you are not the first guest we've had on this podcast. Apologize for making it long. It is not you.
No, it's not you.
It's us. It's it being the finale. It's the casting. We get excited.
Even Caroline saying it's us is an exaggeration. It's me.
No, we'll have this argument off.
You know
air.
what? This isn't for our listeners' ears.
No, but these are always long because we're like celebrating. We're saying goodbye to the season. We've been with these people for, 4 weeks, how we watch it. And we're saying goodbye and we're casting them and it's fun. And it was so fun talking with you.
It really was, Cade. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this for us.
Thank you for having me on. You've been very, very welcoming, and I feel like I've just been in such good hands, and I would highly recommend coming on the show.
Thank you. I'm glad to. I don't know. I couldn't answer that well.
I know, that was like too nice.
It was too nice. I was just like,
I was trying to make a joke. I was like, and this is a paid advertisement from Caroline and Kate.
Caroline, I tried to make a joke too, but instead I just said, thank you.
That's the thing to do.
Oh, brother. If you enjoyed this episode or any of our other episodes, let us know by emailing us at survivorrewind@gmail.com or tweeting us at Survivor Rewind. If you want to be a darling and you want to live forever in our hearts, you'll leave us a review on iTunes. Leave a little message, say what you like, let people know what we're all about. It'll drive traffic here, and that'll make us very happy. Thank you to Shay Valco for being our sound engineer. I had some cats running around me today, so he's probably got quite the work cut out for him, and I want to thank him in advance. I want to thank Mess and Finesse for being our amazing podcast hosts. Caroline, it's time for us to go. Bye.
It's so hard to survive. Maybe it's time to rewind.
This has been a production of Mess and Finesse, a comedy label based out of Somerville, Massachusetts. If you want to hear more of this program or shows like this, please send us an email at admin@messandfinesse.com. That's ADMIN at messandfinesse.com. And for more content, directory of programs, or information on live shows and comedy classes, please visit messandfinesse.com or follow us at Mess and Finesse on social media. Thank you for listening.